Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth iteration of our Chief Delegates meeting. Got a brief list of topics, which I'm sure will take us plenty of time to go over and talk about. As always, it's good times here at the Chief Delegates meeting. Do we want to knock out that first part before we start sharing things, or?
Yes.
Makes sense. I suppose it's obscure enough, but cool.
Do you want me to share screen at all to the
yeah, sure, why not?
And then I can
easy to follow along.
make that. Hold on, I'm gonna have to hide. Hold on, I gotta have my thumbnail, my drop down toolbox thing here.
Ourselves all set up.
Well, I've got it on my computer, but I'm realizing I have too many windows open. Not that it's private, but you know, it's private.
Right. I had that problem yesterday.
All right, here we go. That should be good. It's not the right document, but it's the right place. Okay. There you go.
Awesome. So I guess the first thing we want to tackle is the legal status update and kind of what we've done since our last meeting and where we're going.
Sounds great. We're ready.
Okay, you actually wrote use cookie. That's so funny. Okay.
It's important to talk about. All right. You want me to drive this from my point of view so far?
Sure.
I can definitely do that. All right. Well, we had a meeting with Dan yesterday. Today is Thursday, and yesterday, yeah, I don't have to go into that.
Mike Manfredi.
Yep. Had a meeting with the Clarion team about this and tried to pick their brains about like, how do we hold assets? Do we need some sort of legal structure for the Eden Chief Delegates group to be able to coordinate and like facilitate working together better? Ended up talking with them for a decent amount of time and some good ideas came out of it. The trust idea, like a legal trust to be able to hold some of the assets, was one of the ideas that came out of this. And it might be a good way for us to hold things like social media accounts and domains, email addresses, and kind of have a recognizable structure to control those types of things.
Just to tack on as well, the idea that whoever the trustee is has a stake of EOS, put it into a contract or whatever as a bond, and then that way, if they did run away with the account or something like that, there's a bit of skin in the game that they can lose for doing so as a punishment, as well as whatever would they social costs they would suffer.
Yeah. Coming up with somebody that could serve as the trust, I think is good for both of those. Like both of those act as pretty good protection mechanisms to ensure that it stays within the community. Obviously, there's still some risk there, like if somebody went rogue and then you have to get legal processes involved or whatever. But
and then sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I personally have never interacted with the trust, so this is kind of new territory to me. What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say there was also that idea in terms of administration where, like, say if we want to make a tweet, we actually put that on a smart contract, and then whoever runs the trust just goes to the smart contract, and whatever's on there, they'll post. Either that's automated by a bot, or again, it's just done by hand initially. Probably done by hand would be easiest. I don't think we'll tweet too often, but yeah, there's also that idea that was floated.
Yeah. And automating these types of things, I think, could be gradual improvements that we make to the system. And then they would just be the one holding the credentials or the API keys to that. And ultimately the one responsible to transition those assets from like this first elected body to the next elected body. So.
Yeah, so I thought the trust is going to decide on that. So the agreement in the trust is going to dictate on how the assets is going to be transferred from one party to another. And the trust will also have a notification, a notary so that it will be a bonding type of thing for all the parties involved, right? So the trust will have certain rules, regulations in terms of like how assets are being held, how assets transfer from one party to another party.
Mm-hmm.
And also dispute resolution, that we are not going to let an outside legal entity decide on how we have dispute resolution. So that will be part of the trust, so that Eden can resolve the issues. And if the person is found to have violated the trust, then we can kick that person out, and then we have to come up with a new solution moving forward.
And another idea was to have a separate trust for each asset.
Yeah.
Any idea who the hell actually wants to make these trusts and be the trustees?
So pretty much we have to figure it out how we are going to set up the trust. So we will have to decide on that as a team, how we will set up the trust, who we have to talk to, and draft something.
Right, but we have the idea now. This is the structure, and I think maybe the next bullet is about. We had talked about a legal entity for us as chief delegates, and what do we think about that after our meeting with the Clarion team?
Yeah. So for what I remember, Dan doesn't want people representing Eden, right? So Eden is just going to be Eden. It's just there. No one person represents Eden, right? Because we don't want like an entity representing Eden. Then
Eden's a country, so
yes.
no one is the country.
No one.
We just have to remember that.
Yeah. So pretty much the solution is, if we want to work together, one person can represent the team, use their entity to represent us, or we can form LLC, which is independent of the chief delegation, pretty much. And we can use that to do whatever business. We can get paid for it. We can do whatever that we want to do, but it's basically us working together as a team, and us having an LLC that we can use to do that. Or we can just
or a nonprofit.
Yeah, or nonprofit. Thank you. Jesse.
I think the important part I think he was emphasizing is that nobody should establish an entity that represents all of Eden.
Mhm.
Like, organizations can be formed between Eden members. And since we are all Eden members, we could form an entity to serve our purposes, but it is like our unique entity. It wouldn't be like something that we pass along to the next elected group necessarily. Like, I still think that there's some merit to that idea, because otherwise the next group's going to have to go do this all by themselves. But there's probably some sort of happy middle ground between those two things that we can kind of keep exploring. At least for now, we're kind of unblocked on assets, like who owns these, because Eden as a collective does have assets, the webpage and the social handles, and like those are Eden things. So yeah, there's got to be a middle ground in there.
So there is one analogy that he used that I really liked. Dan used, and I really liked that analogy. And it was how the U.S. is set up, right? You have the feds, it's a private organization doing something for the country, right? So he was basically saying that if we create an entity, that entity can still live. It can still be there after we've been overthrown, right? And we can still
overthrown.
We can still provide the services that we want to provide for the community, and basically the community can pay us in the process, and we can continue doing what we are doing to help build Eden, but it will be our own entity per se.
Yeah, so essentially Eden is a country that doesn't mind foreign entities operating inside it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, makes sense. Did anybody else have any key takeaways from yesterday's conversations about all of this they'd like to share?
Yeah, I guess for me, it was just about the whole point of all this to begin with, and that was just to control the assets, which a trust can do. I was satisfied with that as an answer, and some sort of liability where we're not personally responsible for each other. And so he suggested he'd add a line to the bylaws, and he made the point too that the differentiation between the peace treaty and the bylaws is hard to define. So it may just end up being one document, one cohesive, comprehensive document. And one of the lines will be that we're not responsible for what other people do. So yeah, I was quite satisfied. I think we can move forward and get something done.
We may still run into go for it.
I was going to speak more to that. There was the argument: what if someone from Eden hired a hitman? Would we all be liable? But if you explicitly say in an operating agreement what the terms are, then a government cannot assume an entity on you. So that was the concern. We look like a partnership. And so, look like a duck, quacks like a duck, the government will assume you're a duck. But if we have explicit terms, then we're safe.
It's also because we've all donated 10 EOS to this pot, and now a little sprinkling of that EOS has gone into everyone else's pocket. So we've enabled everyone to have funding because we've contributed to that pot. So it's just if they do something shitty, and they're like, well, you kind of helped support that. I don't know if that's not, I'm not a lawyer, but that's just personally what I'm worried about.
Yeah, also what his McDonald's analogy. Yeah, just because you work for McDonald's and the salary that you got for McDonald's is used to pay for a hitman doesn't mean that the customers who bought cheeseburgers and Big Macs were responsible.
Yeah, and then my big takeaway from it was just that Eden is kind of the only truly decentralized entity now in existence acting on behalf of the EOS community. We've got the ENF and we've got Helios now, which are both centralized entities. So it's kind of our role to develop this into something that can govern to some extent and contribute, but remain decentralized and not let itself get sucked into some sort of legal, box.
Actually, if we're talking about the meeting as well, one takeaway is that Dan had the idea that the head delegate must be for a vote before it can pass. So even if you have 5 delegates that say yes, unless the head delegate is involved, it's not going to pass. Is that right?
Yeah.
He kind of explained it in a confusing way. It also sounded like the head delegate also just had veto power. If 5 minus the chief delegate supported something and the chief delegate abstained, then it could still pass because the chief delegate didn't veto it. But he did propose something where the chief delegate could veto things, which I don't know that it seems like this would be something that would go into the bylaws. Is that where this would belong? And considering we don't have those.
I personally don't think so. I think it's up to each chief delegate group. I think they should have the freedom to set whatever threshold and weights for their.
But how do they decide on what to do?
It's what they want to do.
Yeah, but
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
They have to wrestle.
Right.
Law of the jungle until.
So maybe you're right then, Aaron. That it should be.
It should be something outside of our control. We work within the rule set, and the rule set just needs to exist. I mean, we can propose changes to the rule set, and then maybe they're ratified in the next one. But
at the moment, we've kind of decided what our rule set is, and that's 2/3 plus 1. Are we in agreement in adopting Dan's recommendation of the veto idea? I guess we got to determine if it's veto, if it's the first one that I proposed. It's the tiny differences in there.
And to be clear, this is only concerning matters that require us to all coordinate together, not for every individual project that we're all working on. And he went to some pains to point out that explicitly he was not trying to, have the formation of a committee that all needed to act in unison for every single thing. But yeah, for anything that we as a body want to agree on, there needs to be some sort of agreement on how to agree. I'm fine with either rule set.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're deciding between having the head chief delegate involved in each decision to pass, or involved plus veto power. Those are the two options, right?
I say veto power, and otherwise the pre-existing rules that we had, like a hybrid.
So
'Cause I don't think
essentially, sorry, go on.
Well, we don't want to have to necessitate Aaron being present for every single thing, but he could, he'll see it, he'll have an opportunity to veto it. But if there's you know what I mean? I guess a veto, the absence of a veto is just as good as a yes vote if he's presented with the information.
How often are we voting on things anyway, though? I mean,
I know
it's not like this is really that meaningful yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Anyway,
good to clear out now before a
idea.
time does come before we need a decision to be made. So we got to have this pre-prepared, really.
Yeah, fair enough. I need more information before I'm quite sure of how to apply it. It doesn't seem quite clear. I think we all kind of agree on that. So neat idea. And
I think it's clear.
Yeah, I think it's clear. I think if we go with the veto idea, then unless Aaron, the head delegate says nah, I'm using veto powers. It's just like normal.
I think we should make it normal.
So.
Very.
All right, well, we'll follow up on the next meeting if some people need to think about it more, I guess.
Yeah, I don't quite understand its application. I get it. It'd probably be codified if anything too. So this is probably on-chain decisions. Is that maybe a better way to describe it?
Well, here we're determining how we reach consensus together. So our current system is 2/3 plus one, and then Daniel's proposed.
Personally, I prefer that because I'm not sure if I like it better having a veto power chief. I like the idea of 2/3 plus one. It just that more encourages collaboration and consensus building.
Well, it will still be 2/3 plus one, but again, the head delegate has the power to veto it.
Yes, so it's not really 2/3 plus one. Then the math changes, right? Because it's one out of six can say no, so that's no longer 2/3 plus one. That's all.
Well, isn't 2 plus 1 5 out of 6?
Yeah, so it should pass. But if the chief delegate says no, I veto it, then it's not passing. So it's no longer following the rule of 2/3 plus one.
Right. It's not always 2/3 plus one.
That's what I'm not sure about. I just need more time to think about it. It was pretty fresh yesterday. So.
Yeah. Okay. We can revisit this, and we're not in a rush. But to your point on what this applies to, bylaws would be a good example. If we propose a bylaw, we should all be in agreement on that, probably, rather than just. So that's a case where we'd want
and that's off chain.
But I think another pro of having the head delegate with the veto powers is again say 5 of us were corrupt or whatever, and then again thankfully the head delegate was picked at random. Sortition did what it was sort of designed to do. Again, the sortition guy could say nah, veto this, veto that.
Or what about the other way around?
Yeah.
So
if you reverse that and the sortition winner is the only corrupt one, they could block everything.
Yeah, well, I guess then we need the what you call it, the thing, whatever process you go through to kick out the guy on sortition. However that works, I don't know. That's not defined yet in the bylaws, is it?
Yeah.
That's the dispute resolution.
Seems like this idea with additional ideas might be okay, but right now it's really undefined.
Yeah.
So
let's start a bylaws document that kind of maybe can start to sketch out some of the areas that we need to clarify, including this. And any other things that we think we're going to need to tackle going forward. And then there was some hope of meeting with, I know some stuff came up during the meeting also that we thought was bylaw territory. And Dan suggested that he'd be willing to meet with us periodically to discuss those things. So
I guess it'll be most productive, yeah, if we ask more questions and come up with answers.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know, what is so different from us 6 being in a room like an election and just electing a body or just agreeing on something, right? 2/3 plus 1. I mean, I think that is a standard, and that one is well agreed upon, and there is no gray areas and confusion. You know, in my opinion, that's very simple. And in the future, if Dan can explain why he was thinking the way he's thinking, and it makes sense to everyone, then maybe we adapt.
Yeah, maybe for now we continue to operate on 2/3 plus 1 until we all can come to agreement using 2/3 plus 1 that we want to start operating with a veto power.
Right. That makes
I
sense
agree.
to me.
Well, if it gets put into the code by the Clarion team for on-chain stuff, well, I mean, so be it,
True.
right? Like that's the thing in the end. I think Dan, one of his points, right? He has ultimate control, so he can make it part of the game. And if it turns out it's a terrible idea, then people can change it. It's a neat idea. I mean, we're not saving lives here still. So maybe when we get doing Randall's line, you know, some more important line of work stuff, then we can beat this one to death. But I don't think we need to worry about it yet.
Sounds good. Awesome. Do we want to move on to the bylaws and mission statement? Is there anything, I mean, we kind of started touching on this. Is there more here to dive into?
Think we're good?
I mean, other than the actual mission statement itself, bylaws, yeah, no, nothing from me.
Awesome.
Any thoughts on this since our last meeting?
I think we've all been like just absorbed into Pomelo and other crazy whirlwind. I mean, honestly, I blinked and it was Thursday again.
Yeah.
This was a really fast week.
Let's leave it. Let's talk about cookies.
Sounds good. If somebody wants to set the stage, I don't have quite as much context.
Does anyone have an easy way to access that? Or because I could pull it up. Otherwise, I can just paraphrase.
Yeah, we could probably find in the members chat.
How fast is your members chat search foo?
Probably not that good.
Search foo.
I can look if you want.
It was about, I mean, yeah, it's
Basically,
something about a
Eve
cookie.
tossed this cookie into the Eden members chat, which is basically him asking how much we needed for the next round of funding, and then said, "You split, I choose." And that's a paraphrase because I haven't found it yet, but I will find it.
Who
And-
is he? Does he mean by splitting between?
I wouldn't read too far into like trying to be literal about this analogy, but it was referencing the cookie split thing, just for anyone watching that is confused by that, like where you're trying to come up with a fair divvy of a cookie. So you let one child split it and the other child choose which half.
But he's suggesting that, you know, the cookie is a bunch of EOS, right?
Right.
Ostensibly, yeah.
Okay, so
Okay,
who's
I
the
found
EOS
it.
being splitting with?
I'll put it
Hi,
on the,
Beanie.
I'll put it on the share on the screen.
All
sorry.
right, we can all stare at it.
How much
There you
does Eden need for the next round if funding of optimal sustainable growth is the target? You split, I choose.
So perhaps that is Eden versus non-Eden funding initiative.
And so far,
Yes.
our response has been, I mean, I think fairly
Crickets.
appropriate. No, it's this one. Homer
Yeah, that
Simpson.
was the best I could come up with at the moment. Like
So far.
I'm
So what have the chief delegates had to say? Well, they haven't said much, but there was a gif of Homer Simpson.
That's how I felt. It was like a long silence after that got dropped in the members chat.
Yeah. It goes to show how much action is happening though, right? We haven't even gotten to this really as a obviously serious topic.
Yeah. Chris, you and I had a little back and forth about this on Telegram immediately after this. If you want to,
I mean, to me, the question,
thinking.
the thing with the analogy is it presupposes you know what it is you're splitting. Like the analogy is around a cookie. So I'm splitting a cookie. Okay, I can play that game. But I don't know.
We're splitting 2% inflation, aren't we?
Is that it? Is that what we're talking about? It's not
I
clear
mean,
to
that's
me.
the only thing.
We're gonna tell
split.
the ENF what they want it, what they should do with all of their inflation.
No. We say 30-70, and they say, okay, we're taking the 70 and giving you the 30.
This is like a damn riddle. We could spend an hour talking about this. I'm not sure how productive it is.
But the other exactly. Well, we have to respond. I guess the question is we should respond to it though, right?
Oh, well, we respond to it and be like, what do you mean? get more information.
Right.
Clarify on this shit.
We want half.
No matter what it is, we want 50. It's 50-50. We want half.
Yeah, but again, yes.
Go with a high number. Part of the deal.
The parties of who's getting this, like, matters because, it doesn't have to be 50-50. It could be, 33-33. Right. And then, if we're more deserving, we could then say, okay, 70% to us and 30% for that, like, depending on, what the party is, the size of the party, blah, blah, blah. Like if we got, 50 projects that we can fund and then the other party only has, one project that they're working on, we're meant to be splitting with them, then yeah, like the cookie is going to be different, cut in different ways. But yeah, like we could spend ages talking about this.
All right, so without getting too lost in the you split I choose part, if you just look at the first question and focus on that and forget about the you split I choose part, it's a good question. He says, how much does Eden need for the next round if funding of optimal sustainable growth is the target? That's a good legit question. Like
2% of inflation. Isn't that what we need to do this long term?
2% did you say?
2%.
I mean, that'd be sweet. That's about 100 million a year current.
Sustainable growth of Eden or sustainable growth of EOS?
And then we can create more.
Well, I don't know.
No, to me, it's the ask could be 0.25%. That was the original number. It seemed reasonable to all of us at the time. Was Eden got 0.25. The question I think is more important is how do we split that amongst the other Edens? That's what the question we need to maybe, because we'll get money, but what are we doing about the other ones, and how do we figure that out?
Well, that's the question for the other Edens, isn't it? Not every Eden might be equal,
so we don't have to answer it.
Yeah, I don't think we should treat every Eden as equal.
It's something that's been in the back of my mind for a while now with these other Edens. How independent are they relative to the Genesis Eden? Because it seems to me that it would be beneficial in some respect to coordinate with them, like in this example. But reading More Equal Animals, it seems that the goal is to have to maximize independence. And there's a part in the book where each entity should have similar funding so they can secede, like equal strength between entities. And I guess that would mean that all the Edens should get the same budget according to More Equal Animals. Am I interpreting that correctly?
I don't know. We're not really independent, are we? If our money is coming from, E and F, and that's their only, thing. Like if we want to be independent, we're going to come up with the money ourselves rather than just get it from inflation or whatever. Like
it's a long-term goal,
stuff that makes money and stuff like that.
There's like a kickstarting amount, I think would be.
Yeah. Okay. We'll say what you said before. Was it 0.25%?
Yeah, for all Edens. And then we come up with some sort of algorithm / threshold that then chops from what we would be getting as 0.25 and starts to deviate across the other ones.
Oh,
so eventually we all share 0.25% in some agreeable calculation.
Okay, so each Eden will equally share the 2.5%.
Well, it's a calculation, so I don't know.
What 0.2?
But that's what I'm saying is that seems to be my interpretation from reading More Legal Animals, that it would be an equal split between the Edens.
It's just how big are they? That's the question, right? If you did, what if I'll start an Eden, I'll have 10 people in it, but you've got 3,000 in yours. So there has to be some sort of, and like what defines a legitimate Eden. So I think your B network is how we start other Edens, because it's become this trusted network, and that can be the spawn or the larvae babies or whatever of like, and then, right. Cause then you start there, but then you set threshold for when they get so big, and then they get more funding. And then there's like some sort of check and balance at the ENF, because they're the ultimate spigot. So they have some sort of check and balance to at least keep us in line and be a deserving Eden. And ideally, we all use that as seed funding to then develop. So Violet Garden, the VIO token, that's a Genesis Eden token and product. And maybe that's something that's unique to, and every Eden will hopefully become more independent by developing products within their own ecosystem that benefits their own community. Still collaboratively can talk with each other because it's all on EOS. But.
So my thing is, I think we have to look at the Eden that is created, because if the Eden is producing some sort of value, then that value will determine how much funding they get, right? Because based on their treasury and how many projects they are bringing, then we can look at that to match funding to that Eden. I don't
know. This is like it's not an equal application of the rules. We didn't have to meet that bar to get funding.
Right.
I just
but we did have to inspire Eve's confidence in us to get that funding. If you thought we're just going to waste it and we weren't taking Eden seriously, then we wouldn't have got the money anyway. I would say if we get funding, let's just worry about ourselves rather than say who else can get a share of this money. Let's take the money and make something out of it. Prove that we can do it, and then inspire other Edens to come copy us and do the same. But I think if we just immediately share it out, then I don't think it'd be as productive for the whole EOS community if we just took the money and started building with it ourselves.
It sounds a lot like the algorithm.
We'd only be getting money from Eves by proving ourselves as well. Like Eve is not going to give the money if he thinks it's going to get wasted. So we've in a sense earned that. We're doing more than just showing up and saying, hey, guess what, we've got a contract and each of our EOS accounts are in this list. Give us the money, we've earned it, sort of thing.
It sounds a lot like the different hives in EOSBs. And we spent some time developing an algorithm to decide how to allocate the funds from the treasury. So there could potentially be certain metrics, like, for example, number of people in the Edens, maybe like number of DApps. I don't know what the metrics would be, but we could probably come up with some sort of algo.
I don't know. Like, well, should we just let Eve decide that? If he's the one, dishing out the money, he can be the one that decides where the money goes, like as he is now. I think we should let him decide that and do what we can with the money that we do get.
Well,
so we just turn the question back. Right? We tell him to split. We could turn it back around. He's given us a chance to come up with an answer. I like the opportunity.
If he wants, an answer, we say 0.25% for us. Just go with that. And if he says it's too much, too little, whatever, we'll go from there. But yeah, we'll give him a number back, see what happens.
And then the other factor to consider is that as other Edens come online, theoretically 0.25% becomes a lot more. If we plus the ENF plus Helios are succeeding at our efforts, then you've got multiple Edens and multiple languages all kind of, it's like a rising tide raises all boats. So it's not like a static fund either.
What gave us the impression that he meant inflation and not just an outright amount?
Nothing.
I'd say he probably prefer an outright amount, maybe, because when you say inflation, then it kind of implies ongoing, doesn't it? Where if it's an outright amount, he might just dump it on us and be like, okay, let's see what you do with this, $1 million or whatever it might be, and see what comes on it. It might not be a commitment of 0.25% inflation ongoing. I don't know.
He did say next round, right?
Yeah.
That's for the next round.
That's a good point, John.
What does Eden need for next round?
So for 6 months beyond our term. Is that how you would interpret that?
So optimal sustainable growth of Eden. That's the question, right? How much funding do we need for the optimal sustainable growth of Eden?
Of the Edens or just this
Again.
English Eden?
Eden.
The whole point is to create more Edens, guys. That's the most important thing.
Well, it's not just
for
that.
us.
Not for us. It's not our goal.
Not this
Wait.
group, I should say.
Isn't our goal
Individually,
Eden on EOS? Go,
Correct.
Aaron. You talk. You say something, Aaron. Yeah.
I mean, when we're talking about funding from EOS, these Edens are groups to grow EOS.
Mhm.
And obviously growing the number of Edens within EOS is a benefit to EOS, but I don't specifically know that it is our mandate to, as chief delegates, I should be specific. Individually, this could be like one of our passion projects mandates, whatever. But as a group, I don't think it is our mandate to be responsible for the other groups. Like they are autonomous entities that should have their own responsibilities that we have we're not governing them. We should be leading by example. Like we should figure out how to get our house in order to inspire other Edens to be successful as well. So I think focusing inwards and figuring out our processes is going to ultimately be beneficial to the other Edens. It's just those other Edens are outside of our scope as a collective of chief delegates.
Yep.
Yeah. We don't have to have a unified response either, I don't think. We can all have opinions. He didn't say, hey, chief delegates, how much Eden? He just asked Eden. So I think we can all let's just come up with some answers to that question. We don't have to have a unified one. It's probably more
A
effective.
unified one might be a bit more nicer though.
Probably, but I don't know if we're going to find one here. So maybe we just eat, you know what I mean?
There's
I know,
still questions coming from it.
Like, are we going to craft a response to this together and massage it and all come to agreement 2/3 + 1, or can we just
Let's just ask for 0.25 and they'll talk us down to a fixed amount for the next term and be like, yeah, but 0.25 just takes care of us in perpetuity and you never have to think about it again for a long time.
So when we ask the 2% of inflation, what is wrong with that? If you ask for the whole 2%.
all of it?
What are you going to do with it?
He'd have no funding to do his thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
we-
you want to support a lot with EOS support, but there's only so much. We're going to give massages to EOS holders.
We have to justify the amount. But I would say just right click on that message now, hit reply, and so just had a chat with the Eden delegates, so the Eden Chief Delegates, and we agree on 0.25%. Do we?
No, I don't agree with that response. So don't include. You can't say unless you do votes and I'll vote not. with that.
I mean, let's vote now.
Yeah, absolutely. I vote no.
Okay, Jesse,
Yes.
Randall.
This is the question is whether we propose 0.25% inflation be directed to fund Eden. Is that the question?
we just send a telegram message back, say all chief delegates have reached consensus on this message of
Can't
how
say the word
about
all. Can't say the word all. You got to say
okay, well not all
they've reached 2/3 + 1 consensus, which is perfectly accurate. Yeah.
2/3 + 1. Sorry. Yeah. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You could be like, nah, screw that, or yeah, okay, that sounds good. Let's talk about it more.
Or I mean.
So, Lovejoy, what's your vote?
Oh man.
Choose.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for it. I think
All
we
right.
should
Totally
just
send,
ask.
and I'll send a reply right after, by the way, saying, but I think we should also include a consideration of the other Edens, and we should have a formula that dictates how much of the full 25% goes
Yeah,
to
you can
everybody
be the
else.
abstaining member
We
who
could
has
do
like an
that.
opinion,
It's
like the
perfectly okay.
justice that
Yeah.
has to write his opinion afterwards.
Exactly.
All right, so we got Jesse's yes, we got Lovejoy's yes. Randall, what's your vote?
I wanted 2%. I wanted the whole.
It's too much.
I love it.
Let's-
Yes. 2%.
Wait, that
Going
would-
hard or go home.
Yeah, no,
It's not gonna. Yeah,
it's too much, and we can't justify it. We
It's
haven't
absurd,
done
yeah,
enough
'cause-
to. We haven't proven ourselves. We'll add for a little nibble, and we'll show what we
No
can
one
do
will be
a
able
little
to
bit,
fund
and then we'll
Pomelo.
grow, and then we'll get bigger.
But hey, I got an idea though. What if we say 0.75%? Boom. Because now you can pay 2 other Edens the 0.25%. But for now, we'll take the extra juice. Huh?
not in our scope.
What do you think, Randall? That's a middle ground.
No.
You're not even supporting 0.25.
Yeah.
Hey, you're talking us up. What's going on here?
I think 0.75.
Healthy banter.
Because the thing is, if we are going to do this, we should think about the fact that we want to have at least 6 Edens. Okay.
Yeah, but let's just focus on one Eden first. Jesus, like we haven't done enough. We haven't done very little with the one Eden first.
I think we have done a great job so far by helping change the narrative. EOSBs, translating for everybody, going to different cultures, talking to people in different Telegram groups, helping fight FUD, marketing, EOS support. We are helping with EOS integration, helping users, and it's amazing how many people don't know how to use things, and we're helping them, come on board. Grandmaster is doing a great job creating new ways for us to onboard users easily. We have Brandon Lovejoy always, in the community doing interviews, production, supporting all the other projects on EOS. We have Violet Garden, which is going to be a wonderful, wonderful project. And so far already it is. And you are, rebuilding everything, refactoring things up. I mean, the sky is the limit, right? And we started this, and since then, the narrative has changed. So it's either we want to do this and do it right and go all in, or we don't do it. Because as time goes on, Eden becomes the KYC for people. We can do social account creation using Eden. There's so many things we can do with this.
So if sorry, go on.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that it's either we want to think about, okay, we are the Genesis members, but this is how we can help scale it in the future. We just bring it to the table. Maybe we don't get it, but at least we have it on the table that if we want to eventually get here, this is how much we need.
But again, that wasn't the question. He said Eden, so I'm guessing Eden on EOS, like the current one. And again, the smaller amount that we go for, the more likely to be like, okay, yeah, screw it, that's not very much. Like grant it. But again, if we say 0.75, you're like, whoa, that's a big amount. Like what the hell do you want that for? And then we'll have to go through all these hoops and saying, oh, well, we're going to give it to this, and we're going to give it to that. We're going to do all these things. Like let's just do small things first, prove that we can do the small things, and then expand to the bigger and the better and stuff. I'll be back in a sec. My intern's just in the lobby. I gotta go grab him.
Yeah, and can we get what Aaron thinks? He hasn't weighed in on this number yet.
He's stroking his beard. I took that as to mean a lot of things. I was getting like messages.
Yeah, the signal is coming in strong.
Yeah.
It's really an ambiguous question. I mean, the things that I would like to be doing with these types of budgets, I don't even know if 0.25 is enough. It depends on the scope of what this group plans on tackling to be able to justify the numbers like this. And so I think just picking a number out right now is completely arbitrary, whether it's 0.25 or 2. Like if you think about the math, 0.25 inflation a year from now would make the delegates budgets roughly 3 to 4 times what our budgets are today. Is that a meaningful impact to allow whatever that future community is to be able to do things? Like, we have no idea if that is enough. This is a trickle that will be coming in. It's not like, boom, here's $10 million. So when we're talking about inflation like this, there are so many factors that come into play that, like, I don't even know how we justify that.
Well, it'll be certainly meaningful for EOSBs to have 3-4 times the budget. But yeah, your point taken. We're talking about a lot of different projects here, and what's the scope of each project? It's certainly a complicated answer if we're like want to be like super legit with our answer,
And
which of course, yeah, it's tough.
that's the thing I think that we need to frame this conversation with, is you just cited your project for this round and none of this funding would be available for you this round. Like, we're not talking about adding money in right now. That's not what this is. None of us may be here in the next round. So this isn't us saying we want money to support our initiatives. This is putting money into the system.
No, I know. I was just
slowly
saying
over
as an
time.
example.
Yep. Understood.
So
And-
Eden Korea is getting ready. Eden China is getting ready. Eden Spanish is going to get started pretty soon. So
Mhm.
future, like next round, where do we want to go? Do we want to just say that, okay, you don't speak English, so you cannot participate and screw you? Or we want to say, okay, guys, this is a little something. You guys can start this. You can start projects with this, and you guys can have an Eden that represents you guys. And
Wait, but is
Not
the
for us
code
to
ready
decide.
to
Yeah.
spin up another Eden?
they're working on it.
Right, but how long is that going to be?
In 6 months, I'm hoping that they can have something to at least do an election. It shouldn't take that long.
But yeah, it's not our job to spawn new Edens. Like, let's take care of our own Eden before trying to raise another one.
But he said next round, right? I thought it was next round. But if it's for now, then maybe he can just.
No, it's next round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should leave a little room for Eden expansion, but I also don't think it's our responsibility to do anything other than create the tools to make Eden expansion easier. To whatever extent we can do that outside of whatever Clarion's doing. And I think a lot of that has to do with coming up with really sensible bylaws and procedures and other organizational work that we can do to make this whole process run a lot more smoothly. And to Aaron's point, I think we do need to come up with a grand vision of what it is that, what we would do with X times the budget, because I think we all know that we're a little underwhelmed. Like, all your projects could absorb, a lot more, and you're going to Pomelos to get more funding. So what would it be like if Eden didn't have to go to outside, quote unquote, outside sources for funding? What could Eden be if it just had adequate resources? And what I think this is part of Eve's challenge to us early on was like, think big, think bigger, focus. He kept saying in the chat, and whatever we're going to leave for the next round of people has to be something that's
Bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And bigger than our projects.
Bigger than
right. Bigger than
Right.
like each of our separate little projects. Yeah.
Yeah, because some of the projects take far more than whatever we're going to get. And some projects wouldn't need that grand of an amount like that we may be proposing. So it's a matter of figuring out, like, we have systems coming online now that will hopefully be able to take care of some of these projects we're passionate about. And Eden can obviously help with that. But is Eden a project funding mechanism? Or is Eden here to develop itself into the best kind of social governance model it can be, so that way other Edens can learn from that and evolve from it. Like, I think Dan has kind of hinted at that as well, that like he didn't mean for us all to run on like these individual projects and then just dump all this money into these one projects. This is an experiment in like us being able to, in some sense, govern ourselves.
Yeah.
So taking it away, stepping back from the whole like, this is what I need for my project situation. The amount of funding we need for Eden is really unclear until we know what we're doing with, as the leaders of Eden, without our projects. Like, Gray Mass needs the 2% inflation all by itself. Not really, but that's a little hyperbole.
Yeah.
But point being is that there could be an organization that could make that case, like, and that's not realistic to fit within the Eden bubble. The next person being elected doesn't fit that. They may have just this exorbitant budget that they can't possibly make use of. I don't know. I personally think we need to figure out what we're doing more before we have a really good concept of a number. Obviously, more money is going to be good for how we're operating. But that's not what this is. That's not even for us operating. This is for the future people operating in the roles that we're filling today. So I'd love some more clarity. I'd love to have a conversation about this. Let's talk to Eve about this. Maybe that's the next step. Instead of throwing a number at him, let's say, let's talk.
I agree with that. You have my vote.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, Aaron, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Also, I think, and building on what you said, like, we owe it to future generations of Eden that we don't just arbitrarily choose some number because it seemed like a good idea at the time, as opposed to thinking long and hard about what Eden, like the core of Eden, will need to develop further into the future. Yeah, talking to Eve seems like a good idea.
Okay.
And it's also so tough because the variable price of EOS.
Yeah,
So,
Exactly. Yep.
but anyways,
guess.
maybe we should move on.
now
Well, if we cast a new vote, then the vote is that we offer Eve to have a chat with us.
Yeah, like
Yes.
let's talk.
yeah,
Okay,
Let's-
we all have consensus.
Yes.
yeah.
Cool.
Aye.
All right, vote done. Chris, did you
So-
want to send a message back and say that would you be keen on having a chat?
Do we have a joint account? No. You can send it. I feel like why don't you send it?
Oh, okay, I'll send it.
I'm taking notes,
Cool.
so you can send that there, and then I'll keep making my notes here for the
I'll take a
individual
screenshot for
updates.
posterity.
Someone wants to do individual updates.
Let's jump into those. I can jump in first,
Okay.
just to keep the ball moving while you guys are independently doing some things. I've now seen internal prototypes of this onboarding stuff we're working on now. There's a few weird technical hiccups we're still working our way through. And we found a few cool new features that we might be able to add, but I don't even want to mention them at this point because we're still not sure if they'll work properly. But in going through this exercise of trying to like really allow onboarding anywhere into EOS, some opportunities have come up, and we're really going to kind of dive deep into those while we're continuing to work on the core experience. And hopefully we'll be able to include some of those, but no promises yet. So on our front, on my pledges front, that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm trying to find some time to really dive into Pomelo pitches because I've seen so many of the headlines and titles, and I do want to, now that it's available, put a chunk of my budget into that. My budget has largely remained inactive up until this point. So I will probably figure out the best way to do that from an accounting perspective and then jump on stuff, even if I have to just eat some of the cost myself. It's exciting seeing these projects come online and seeing people contributing to these because they want to see it be successful. And honestly, it really makes me want to also participate and be a part of that. So I hope that like we see this as a trend that continues into the future, just like these new seasons with new projects, and those of us with budgets, if we have, you know, that extra amount, we can put something towards some of the stuff that we want to support as well. I mean, it's like local governments sponsoring local initiatives. That really feels like what we're doing.
What do you think about the idea of using our amounts to then give to various people within Eden to then give to a project to multiply the number of givers? I'm not sure if it's wrong. I'm wrestling with this. Like,
Yeah.
If you give it to Eden members because they don't have our budget, so maybe you just give it and don't tell them who they have to give it to, and just that's the one thing that felt a little better.
That kind of got shot down by Dan. Remember when I brought it up? He seemed to think it was a really bad idea.
In general to do it, or was it just like the order of operations?
No, I think that was a different idea, Lovejoy. Or
was it? Wait, what was the idea that you proposed, Chris?
Well, my idea, well, it wasn't the idea that
I remember
experimenting with was, yeah, just like to reimburse people within the Eden community for Pomelo donations. But Dan saw that as like a huge attack.
Yeah,
surface.
That's bad. Don't do that.
And so we decided that was a bad idea. And so now, how is this idea different?
Is it bad to take 100 of my winnings and give it to 10 people that I trust in Eden who didn't win a position of funding?
Yeah.
And they can do what they want with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Lovejoy, you were talking about your whole budget. You wanted to use your entire budget.
No, well, not necessarily the entire budget, but
I thought that's
also,
what you said.
It wouldn't matter what size of the budget it was. It's the
because Dan said, like, we're, you know, throughout the election, it was, you know, our personalities that were picked to make those decisions. It wasn't to then distribute the votes, so, you know, back out again kind of thing.
Back out, yeah.
It's meant to go up, up, and then from there, you know, out, not up, and then back down again, sort of thing.
But it's not linear though. It's not a zero-sum game because of the quadratic nature.
Yeah, but technically if you're messing with the quadratic nature of it, you know, by doing that, then your, you know, EOS Nation might have a problem with that as well.
But if I don't tell anybody who they have to give it to, and I just say,
but again, the money was given to you to distribute to, you know, to the projects, not say.
Says you can't tell me what I can't do with my money. No,
it's telling you what you can do with your money.
Yeah, I can give it to them. I think that's the ethical option. Do you guys think that makes sense, at least ethically speaking? Whether you agree with it is a good use of funds or not, we can debate that all day long.
I think that
I have a feeling there's something that we're not thinking of that makes that a really bad idea, but I'd love to see one of us try it and see what the consequences are.
Don't do that. Don't put that toll on.
And I want it to be you, Chris.
I think it might. Explain to me why it's like immoral or wrong thing to
Chris,
do.
I agree with you, Chris.
What Dan brought up yesterday was that the vulnerability there is the people you are giving this to could spin up fake projects to donate to themselves effectively. Like if there is no condition
trust, right?
on what
you just don't do an open amount. Hey, anybody, here's some free EOS to donate to Pomelo. I'll just people I trust who didn't win or whatever. I could choose to do that.
Yeah, but again, you're diluting the point of Eden again, because if that's the case, then why even do the Eden election? Why not just, you know, spread the winnings amongst all the Eden members and then, you know, go from there? Again, you were picked in the election, you know, for your opinions to make your judgment. You know, my
judgment is to trust but it's part of a good choice. That's okay. I can do that. Anyway, we don't have to talk about it anymore. It's a long meeting.
I don't know. I would heavily suggest that you don't do that, at least without getting EOS Nation's kind of blessing on the idea.
Your counsel is duly noted. Thank you, Mr. Williamson.
they do forensics on donations, and if they suspect something suspicious, they may disqualify that proposal
Yeah.
from getting quadratic
Well, that's why if I
funding.
said, here's funding, no, I'll do it in the open chat. Oh, don't worry. This will be very public. There will be no secrecy here. It'll be,
Well,
I'm giving
doesn't
up
matter
some
how
of my
public
winnings.
it is.
I think it does. Daniel's there. If I say I'm taking some of my earned winnings to help give it and trust the people of Eden to put these, to best choose the public goods that get funded. And so I'm going to use some of the collective earnings in this particular instance, because it only happens once a quarter. This is like a celebratory event. So then I'll give out just some EOS to some people who I feel are trustworthy to go ahead and pick your favorite projects. You know, 1 EOS each to 10 projects of your loving. And that, you know, that just empowers the voice of the Eden member.
But is that the ideal election
Subjective
speech that you do on your round? You say, you know, I'm not going to make the decision so much myself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find people that I trust, and I'm going to give out the EOS to them, and then they can decide to do.
Maybe we'll have to see in the next election.
I don't know. I think it's just you're sort of diluting the point of Eden to begin with.
You know, we are all allowed to have an opinion on that one.
All right. Well, let's leave it at that for now. But we'll see what happens. Let's revisit this and see.
So individual updates.
Yeah, thanks for hijacking individual updates there. No.
I guess I can go.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so EOSBs, we onboarded our first influencer a few days ago. We announced it today.
Ooh.
Turkish Hive. It's this he has a doesn't have a fully crypto audience. He has more of like an e-commerce audience. Over 100,000 followers on Facebook, about 15,000 followers on Twitter. We translated the beginner's guide into Turkish, and he posted about it and put it on his website. So that was our first influencer. Super cool. We want to get way more influencers like that. We're probably going to be using all the translations of the beginner's guide as the kind of first post for that influencer.
What's his Twitter handle? Just so I can follow him.
Yeah, it's in Turkish. It's TEKNOLOJIPROJE.
14.7K followers.
Yep, that's him.
Okay.
162,000 on Facebook.
Sweet. So is he into it?
Yeah.
Like, is he becoming like a I love EOS, this is great, like type of attitude, or how's that work?
Yeah. So the Turkish Hive pitched him on EOS, and he has joined EOSBs. He's a scout bee now for the Turkish Hive. And so he's going to continue to get educated on EOS and hopefully continue to post. And the Turkish Hive has used the funds from their honeypot. Each hive has a honeypot. That's their savings and expenditure account. It's a multi-sig. And they have chosen to give this influencer the funds from their honeypot to make these posts. So that was really cool. Our first influencer using their honeypot. The system has been for about a little over a week now, and kind of things have been working pretty much as intended. We've had multiple case studies. We're going to come out with a report at the end of the month. But one of the things is our engage all bees and our bee signal. And so basically the idea is we have all these bees, and if we identify a piece of FUD or even a piece of really great positive content, all the bees will engage on that. And then the algorithm on Twitter and Reddit and YouTube and Facebook will send that out. It's been really interesting to see, based on the funds that we have, each bee has an average of 8.8 EOS per month of salary. Depending on where that bee lives, that's very low or slightly decent. So how many bees are participating in our Swarm All Bees and bee signal? And it really depends on what action we want them to take. So we've had 2 case studies. One was on Twitter, where all they had to do is click a link, and like and retweet a post on Twitter. That was less action than our other case study on YouTube, a very negative YouTube video. They had to find it on Twitter, click the link, go on YouTube, write a comment. So we'll start with the YouTube one. We got about at most 10% participation from our 147 paid Bs. But even with just 10%, we dominated those comments. We had the top 10 comments on that YouTube video, and it was really impactful with just 10% participation of our 147 Bs. And with the Twitter, we got about
Can you speak
half
to that video?
participation.
What was the views on that video?
And so 37,000 subscribers. I can't find it right now.
Okay,
Well,
no
I'm not
problem,
going to attempt to find it right now.
No, it's all
But
good.
I just remembered that the views, it had like 30,000 views or something, but the video had come out. So I got alerted on Telegram, and the video had just come out, and so yeah, people watched it, and it literally said EOS failure in the headline of the video. So it's going to be interesting to see. So basically, the original plan was to give out financial penalties for not doing this basic stuff coming from the global hive, like participating in our swarm all bees. But it seems like, or it not seems like, I know that our current funds, the penalty is not substantial. Like the salary is not substantial enough for them to care about a penalty. And so it's not, I can't require it. It's just not, it's not going to work. It's not working right now. So hopefully with the funds from Pomelo, we can up their salary and then issue warnings of payment penalties to get full participation. So that's really what we've been focusing on now, is this FUD. It's kind of the lowest hanging fruit. It's a very small action from the bees. And I've been really encouraged by what we can do, even with a minority of our strength. So it's kind of a long update, so I'll stop there. Yeah.
One thought about how you can, the incentive structure, right? As opposed to a negative incentive structure with the penalty, is offer a more positive one. So like if you could do some sort of interaction with the Tidbit thing from Mark, where when your hive participates in something, they get some token, some newly minted token, and then that your proportional ownership of that token, because you participated, then gives you a reward. And it could be maybe like you could do a lottery and it gives you more tickets in the lottery, and once a week you give a lottery out and you award a couple and they get whatever, they get extra dough, and you just refresh it maybe, or something like that. Because if it's like I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, another token comes with legal and accounting issues.
What about NFTs?
Okay, NFTs could be too. I think our bees are most interested in the EOS token. I agree. The negative incentive isn't the most ideal. I am planning on talking to Mark from Tidbit to try to get maybe some EOS rewards for doing certain actions. But yeah, for now, that's what we have.
Cool. I can go. I don't have really much other than supporting Pomelo pitches. We've done a few of those and some work on the Eden expansion, that education thing, kind of really just putting that pitch together and ironing it all out. That's been the main focus, other than just trying to keep up with everything that's going on, I think. Yeah.
All right. For your support, we have a code debugged so that next month or so we can start paying people on a smart contract, have everything on chain. The only problem that we ran into was that developer used scatter protocol, so now we have to use Anchor protocol, which is the best. I like that better. So we are working on that now. So that's with the smart contract. We've been able to onboard a person from France. So we have a French community member now. We're able to translate in French, and they're also helping with the education that we are providing for the community. We are able to translate things into French now, and we onboarded Max from US Korea, so he's also helping so that we can provide services for the Korean community. So we have German, we have Korea, we have Chinese, we have French, English, and Spanish now. So we have 6 languages now. Oscar is basically the person that has been onboarded to help with Spanish, and Bishop can also help with Spanish as well. So far so good in terms of like onboarding. Otherwise, we're just trying to continue to build the platform so that we can provide more content, and also give avenue for people to submit content for us to pay them, right? So we are working on a system where when you submit a content, or when someone provides content, like how JC provided that beautiful what is EOS content, the getting started guide, we can actually help them or contribute to their efforts. So those are things that we want to put in place as well. So far, those are some of the updates that we have. And as usual, we are seeing a lot of users, and we are helping a lot. I just don't have the metrics, but I have them. So maybe next meeting, I can show how many people we've helped so far. Yeah.
My update, I'm working on NFTs with Violet Garden. So at the end of the bidding process, a post owner can mint their own NFT for the post. That include, a little bit of metadata, and then they can put that on the open market and do what they want with it.
Battle of the Beards, you win.
Win? What?
I said it's the Battle of the Beards, you win. But since you hesitated, I'll go.
No, he's already gone though, I think.
I went first.
Oh, you went first. Oh, shucks. Sorry, I was. Then.
So I did win.
You did win. Yeah, I've been still churning through the election videos and taking notes. There's kind of something that Chris started, and we both thought was a really great idea, and try to make those notes available to the community ASAP. Almost done with that. I've spent a disordinate amount of time studying cooperative law as one of the possible avenues for the chief delegates, but I think we're not going anywhere near that direction now. And perhaps I will turn some of my attention now to trusts, because that's probably something we need to learn about soon. And then I've been working on a Pomelo pitch, really like laying the groundwork for something of an Eden member comprised film production company that is going to be able to produce some high quality videos for all different Eden projects as need be. But I think the main thing we're going to focus on right out the gate is something that is a good Fractal Democracy explainer video that can kind of situate EdenOS in the historical context that we're in now, and where we're trying to go with this idea. So yeah, deep in the weeds, and I'll be trying to get the Pomelo pitch live here before too long. And yeah, other than that, that's all I got.
Okay, I think that's it, right? I got everybody. Yep, that's 6.
Everyone.
Okay, I'll bring up the tracker to bust through this fast. Let me make it bigger for you guys. Okay. So forming other Eden groups, we've talked about it. Eden Media Asset Ownership, no progress. Although I did find another Twitter account. There's 3, right? There's also Eden on EOS. Did you guys see that one? It's got 2,500 followers. So that wasn't even on our list.
I can't keep track of all the accounts there.
And it doesn't
There's
even care about
Eden
anybody.
EOS.
This is a real selfish one. They're only following 5 people.
Well,
And they're following
I
the
think
real
this is
EdenOS. See, look, ultimate, look, right there, clone. They're just copying the real one.
So
I can't
where
remember
are
who's
we
who
at?
anymore. It's starting to turn into like a.
Well, we don't own
Weird.
any of them, I think, is where we're at so far.
And we haven't been able to reach out to anyone.
No.
No,
I'm messaging in the members group right now.
we need the one from we can't tweet on behalf of Eden, basically, is where we're at currently. So I suppose that's the underlying problem we need to solve.
Well, how long have we been trying to get hold of this stuff? Should we do something a bit more drastic? It seems like the current solution that we're implementing doesn't seem to work.
I mean, now that we have a solution, I think eventually maybe we will make it public that anyone that has an asset that has Eden in it, maybe they can register with us so that, I mean, they can still keep the asset, right? We just have to make sure that the trusted agent knows about it, right? Is that how it's going to be?
Well, we first
Yeah.
need to get them. I mean, I think the challenge we're having here is we don't have the keys to any of them. So it's like either we get the keys to one of these. I think we can. Annabella's should be the easiest one to get a hold of, at least so we have a forum to communicate from. And then once we get one, then we just tell everybody this is the real one. And it's actually in the name. So it works out good.
Is Annabella contactable? I thought we've had her on the list for a while now.
Yeah, well, I reached out to her individually, but I did not hear back. So I'm just going to put it in the Eden members group because I do see her interact there. So I'm writing right now. I'm about to press send.
Yeah. So, okay. The other 2, I mean, I don't think we can control essentially what they do, obviously. So we could try to get a hold of them. I don't know if they're going to want to hand over their accounts to us. I guess we could ask nicely.
Highly doubt that. I think probably we just have to market it and promote it like you were saying, so that people know which one is the real one. Maybe.
We could also say that, I don't know, it's kind of imposting, isn't it? If you're like, I can't make a Twitter account and say that I'm B1 or Google. So,
I mean, you could, but
like, yeah, not without being, not getting in trouble or do it, it's not the right thing to do, is it? Impersonate another company or organization.
Yeah, so wait, real EdenOS isn't the new one.
No, I mean, I didn't know of that one. I just mean, sorry. Yeah, I shouldn't write that. New to Chris. I'll put it to another.
So Randall had that list.
Oh, let me bring it up.
You're the host, Randall, so you can. Oh, yeah. Hopefully, it's still recording. Good. Yeah. So you can share your screen if you have it. Anyway, bottom line, still, I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, yeah, I guess we could go to Twitter and say we're being impostered, but
yeah, well, why don't we all just send a tweet from our accounts and say, hey, I'm a sitting chief delegate, please, contact one of us in order to, get this account transferred or whatever the hell we want to phrase it. But I think we need to sort of somehow turn up the heat.
I mean, I don't know. Doesn't really matter in my mind. They haven't said anything shitty. It's not
Well,
like
yeah,
it's not a bait and switch Eden Twitter account. A lot of drumming up subscribers and then doing like a War of the Worlds H.G. Well moment. You all suck. We hate everyone.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to not have any more ambiguity than we need. Like,
Yeah, and
or at
what
least
happens when
just
we?
know.
We can't stop them, though, can we?
Well, no, but we
we-
can't denounce them. We can call them out and say, "Hey, these are imposter accounts," and put that on our website, or tweet about it from our own, Twitter account, kind of thing.
Yeah, just so like people know where the actual.
If people want,
Yeah.
account is.
Once we get the one, we could do that. I think it makes sense. We don't even have the one yet, though.
yeah, well, it's either
Yeah.
I don't know. We should probably set some kind of deadline. It's either we get an account or we create our own one.
I mean, that is an alternative path we could go down, is creating a new account and potentially a new name. I mean, we are operating currently under Eden on EOS, but really the next EOS or the next Eden is also going to be Eden on EOS. Like, that is kind of an nondescript name that covers all of us when considering a multi-Eden group.
Yeah, somebody was it
We
you?
could-
Somebody had a brilliant
Yes.
write-up on like naming conventions going forward.
Yeah. And I was like, we
Yeah.
shouldn't just call this Eden, and we shouldn't call it Eden on EOS. And I still believe that, like, each group should have a unique name that
Mhm.
is, I don't know, like, we've kind of divided ourselves up based on language just for the ability to communicate. Because we need to have calls like this and to be able to talk to each other until the day that we have like real-time captioning and automatic translations or like Star Trek technologies. But for now,
What about
like,
Genesis?
Yeah, weren't we floating that idea, Genesis? I remember that.
yeah, potentially. And if we're also talking about website, that's a good opportunity to also follow up with naming. I mean, changing the name to do all of this is kind of a drastic step, and I think we'd probably want to run it by people before we as a group did that, but it's an option to distance ourselves from all these other social media accounts that we have no control over. New fake ones may be created, but at least we could get a good one then without depending on somebody we don't know.
I think your idea about naming, coming up with like a more sound naming standard would be a really good thing to think about.
Yeah. Even if it's
I
just
remember.
an initiative we take on as a group to help other groups. Like, we figure out what our name is, and then that helps other groups as they're forming to pick their name as well. We don't want Eden on EOS 2.
Yeah, and we don't want to be E1.
No. People will start calling us E0.
Yeah.
That's what I've been calling our meeting notes, Eden 1.
Nice.
But that was actually thinking of the term, because then there'll be Eden 2.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not going to work for other languages.
So current plan with social media. So we're still going to try reach out. And then another item that we're going to have is thinking about another name, floating the idea of another name with Clarion.
It'd probably be the first to bounce it off of, yeah.
So current ideas are Eden Genesis, or perhaps even Eden West, maybe. Cool.
I prefer the differentiating name to go first, personally. I think so. Genesis Eden instead of Eden Genesis.
And we don't even have to use the word Eden if we don't want. I have lived for years now where people like to use the same keyword in multiple things that are related but are different. and then the general population can't tell the difference between those things. So like going back to Steam and Steam It and Steam It Incorporated, like 3 completely different things, a blockchain, a website, and a company, but nobody could tell the difference between any of them. We have the same thing with EOS and EOS.io. Nobody knows the difference between those 2 things. And now we're kind of doing the same thing with Eden, where we're naming everything Eden, EdenOS, Eden on EOS, the Genesis, whatever Eden group. Like from an outsider looking in, when all of these things use this one word, that it's really hard to tell the difference between the things. So, I mean, that you can see that in our direction with our product naming. Like we have Anchor, which is just completely different than anything else. It drove us nuts that people called the other stuff the Gray Mass wallet. It's like, no, it's not. It's completely different than Gray Mass. Like Gray Mass is a software company and Anchor is a product. So my gut reaction is to push really far away. And there's probably a happy middle ground somewhere in between there, where if we need to put a nod to Genesis or to Eden or to any of these other things, we probably could, but it should be different enough. And I think that was the case I made in that forum post last summer.
Yeah, it was a while ago and it was a good one. We should pull that up.
But I mean, as we're starting to work, and the next item on the list was the website. So both the social media accounts and the website fall under this category. And if all else fails and we can't find a way to get a hold of one of these decent names for ourselves, then the alternative could be, well, let's use a different name. Come up with a name that nobody knows of, can front run us on, and we get everything secured before other people can take it. Yeah, talk to probably Clarion first.
So with the website, then Ray will point the domain to whatever site we like.
Yep.
But again, Ray won't transfer the domain though, will he?
Yeah, no, I'm just not done writing it out. And he'll transfer the domain to whoever we'd like as well. But we prefer we had an actual process, an agreed upon process that would apply to all assets, and something that basically, yeah, persists from, so like the trust. If we did the trust, then that would make sense, and he'll send it to the trust.
You're invisible right now.
Oh, right. I turned my thing off because thought I was going to start eating, but I can't because I got to take notes. So I closed that when I was chewing my face off here. But yeah, okay. So that was the suggestion. I'm okay with that. I'm not in a rush to send the domain to anyone. I trust Ray, so to me it's not an issue, and it encourages us to set up this process so we can collect all of our assets appropriately, which was the biggest for me personally. What I liked about the trust and why we were talking about that legal entity DAO DAC in the first place, in my mind.
Okay. What about just the on-chain trusts with the bond feature? Would you guys be sorry?
Said if we can find whoever that would be, somebody that's willing to put up something.
How much money do you want?
All of it.
What about $1,000 USD?
Yeah, I mean, finding somebody that's like, hey, do this job for us and pay us for it seems like a tall ask, but
yeah. I don't think it needs to be like an insane amount of money. It just needs to be, like you're already an Eden member, so you should be trustworthy, and you're going to trash your reputation, and you're not going to be chosen at random, I don't think. So the bond to me is a nice to have personally. I know you're way into it.
For Arello, I'll do it with my company. That's an offer. I'll put up $1,000 USD for the domain. And so that would be under the jurisdiction, under the multi-sig of all 6 of us, chief delegates requiring a 5, whatever you want to do there in order to get it out.
$1,000 worth of EOS.
Yeah, $1,000 worth of EOS USD. And then we can just get the ball rolling.
I don't
the ball is
object
rolling though.
but I wonder if there's benefit to having it be a neutral third party.
That's my preference, is to do the trust thing. This is why you said to get the ball rolling, but the ball is rolling. Ray will point the domain to whomever we like. So we have full control of the website.
Well, no, we don't. Well, again, there's technically no such thing as full control of the website. It's just, who we trust to, in theory, let us control the website.
Did we ever point blank ask the Clarion team if they would take on this responsibility for Eden?
Nope, not to my knowledge. I thought about it during the meeting yesterday.
Well, they already got the 2 domains, eoscommunity.org and EdenOS.com, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, and part of the thing that we kind of got to yesterday was to keep things in multiple different hands so that it's maximally decentralized. But to have a trust, administer each one of these resources. So I think figuring out how to set up a trust, which seems like it actually fairly simple once you get the general drift of it, because it's not like you just have to have it notarized. I don't even think it's like filed anywhere, and then have it put on chain as well, IPFS. Would be the first step, figuring out how to actually execute a trust. And we're kind of waiting to hear back a little bit on that from certain people who shall not be named.
And also, it might make sense to have multiple people as part of this trust, just in case the one person gets hit by a bus and then like the domain's gone.
No, the trust sets up like like rules of succession, basically. Like the trust names the next person that it goes to,
right?
And then names the next person it goes to after that.
Do they have like the passwords or?
Well.
Yeah, well, it's done with a dead man switch.
That'd be interesting.
Do that?
No, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think the idea with the trust is that, in the event that somebody went AWOL or died or whatever, you could legally go to, you could have the trust, your lawyer, whoever is administering the trust, go to, the hosting company and say, I am the administrator of this trust. Here's the paperwork. This person was running the account, but they're no longer satisfying the requirements of the trust. Therefore, I'm asking you to transfer, to reset the keys. Give me those keys so I can give those keys to whoever else or whatever, But I don't know the exact workings.
I fear that if we wait until we do anything, until we get a trust, it's like just forever until we get this trust, and we'll never actually do anything.
Come on, it's not gonna take that long. We just found out about this yesterday.
I don't know.
But what can't you do now? What can't you do now that you will be able to do once later?
It's not about what we can't do, but basically what's something actionable that we can do to get us closer towards the trust idea or better domain security. Yeah. So if we then decided we have EdenEOS.org redirect to EdenOS.com, do we want to do that? What's the primary domain going to
be? I missed what you said, John. What was
so we got 2 domains. There's EdenEOS.org and there's EdenOnEOS.com, and we don't really want 2 because that just creates confusion. So we'll just have 1 domain forward onto the other domain. So which one do we want to push in SEO? I think that EdenEOS.org is better in terms of SEO, but then again, it doesn't matter too much if it gets redirected anyway.
But the URL is still relevant. It's just pointing to a different site. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ray will point to whatever. We can keep that URL still remains relevant. It's just that there's a new site that it should be going to, like a,
Okay, so that site that it'll be going to is EdenOS.com.
I don't understand the question. My knowledge of websites isn't enough. I thought it could be like raise the org just goes to like basically however he has it set up. It's no longer going to his website that he made his work. It could go to just another website, but it's just this URL now is that site. Isn't that how it works or no?
Or you can have the domain go to another web host, and then, or you can have it just redirect. So, it's a bit like I can have, violet.garden redirect the user to google.com, like if I want to. So if we have edeneos.org, anyone that goes there, it just redirects them over to edeneos.com.
So we just want to pick which domain we like the most and redirect the other one to that.
Yeah.
But then to Aaron's point, we may want to like turn another corner at some point. But EdenEOS was it org or com? That's just
Org.
EdenEOS.
EdenOS.com.
Okay. And then EdenEOS.org. Well, whichever. Yeah, whichever one ends up being the one for now, it may end up just being kind of like an informational umbrella site that ends up sending people to, if we take that naming convention route where we kind of start carving out like different identities so that we're not all like generic versions of the same name across the whole world. It'll change again, is all I'm saying.
Okay. But for now, with what we got, we'll just read EdenOS.com.
I'm okay with either. I mean, they both have their merits. The .org is shorter, and the .com is a .com. Like,
yeah,
those are two big pluses for both of them independently.
Cool. A .com is already building from the Git repo as well, so it's just easier. We don't have to ask web hosts and stuff to make changes. It's really sweet. Cool. Well, if we did that, then we just asked Ray to redirect the domain to EdenOS.com. Simple.
In the short term.
Yep. And then after that was the Pomelo pitch. Did you guys take a look at the document?
No. What are we looking at?
The Pomelo pitch for the EdenOS
the web
website. Yeah.
No, but I will look right now. Is it
Did
in
we
the
make it through this list of things? Because I think the last point on the overall agenda is the Pomelo pitch.
okay. Bylaws, whatever, we talked about it. Shared Eden EOS account. Last time, we're not going to worry about .eden. We'll make something else, but maybe it'll depend on this new name we're going to come up with. Mission statement. We talked about that. No progress. Eden as a DAO DAC. We talked about that. And trust looks like the way to go. Done.
Cool. All right, the pitch. Oh, it says "let me in" really big now.
Who's missing?
Not me
Let me
anymore.
get in and adjust my hair? You just wait.
Do we want to?
Professional?
Chris, do we want to put the Eden assets with the notes somewhere so that at least we have that? Eden
Yeah,
assets,
sure.
that-
The spreadsheet, you mean?
yeah, the spreadsheet.
Is that it there? Or no, that's John's Google Doc.
Yes, Pomelo pitch.
Yeah, Randall, I'll add that to the notes and then I can make it clickable to bring them up. Are you editing it? Is it I can't recall now. Is it a Google Doc that you're constantly keeping up to date, or is it a finalized thing?
No, it's a finalized thing. It's
Okay, sweet. I'll attach it to the OneNote here, and then I'll be able to bring it up every meeting if we need to make updates. Or do you want to see it? Is that what you're asking?
no. I'm just asking if we can attach it so that it makes it easier.
Next time. Okay. All right. Yep, we'll do. And did this open? Let me see.
Should we build the ongoing, wait, are we talking about the website upgrade yet?
Yeah.
This is the Pomelo pitch to raise funding to take care of the website.
I just wonder if we shouldn't build an ongoing maintenance and improvements, at least to the end of our term, into this pitch, rather than make it like an additional target 5K USD add-on. It'd be kind of weird to just create a website and then be like, like, there's no money to fix it. You know,
I mean, we do have budgets that we could use for things like that. And I imagine future candidates in our roles may want to do that as well, or put up new Pomelo pitches, but
yeah. But does it need to be an add-on in this, or should it just be baked in? Or like, we'll figure it out between us to like the maintenance? I mean, is my question.
Well, I guess, yeah, like the Pomelo pitch could be simpler. So like targets not there so much. It's basically raising money, like a budget to make a website, and then Eden from there outsources that to whoever they want to build the website. If you want to do that instead, it's up to you.
Yeah, and I would even say like that. Yeah, like adding a second target that adds Korean and Chinese, like I would just bake that into the target and be like, I don't know what we get by like splitting it up into 3 targets like that, so much as just saying, this is what we need, this is what we're going to deliver with this amount of money. And if we get any less than that, you know, it might not all be there, but this is what we're like, just 10 grand, and then we'll chip in like maintenance costs from our budgets or something.
yeah, I think we're all still kind of learning how to use Pomelo as well, because at this point, I don't even know if target amounts make sense. I suppose a target does make sense, but there's no way to dictate that like, oh, I am not going to do, or if I don't raise this amount, I'm not going to do it. Like you're getting that amount no matter what.
Yeah,
and then the matching amount is out of your control completely. So that, just to say that, like, I think we're all still figuring out how to write Pomelo pitches at this point, because it's kind of the Wild West right now. As far as translations though, do we need them? I think is an important question, because this is a site for this English speaking community. Do we need to explain that, or is that the responsibility of the Korean Eden community or the Chinese? Like those language speaking communities, I imagine, would have their own websites.
I think, yeah, I don't think directly we need to, but indirectly, if we did have translations, a side effect of that would be like they can use that as an example, or if they're making that their own, like maybe a French community or whatever, to be like, you know, what does a good Eden community look like? And then if that translation is there, then, you know, they can get a better idea of it as an example.
I wonder if the Eden on EOS website itself should just serve as a hub for all of the Edens as well. Like
that's kind of, where I was going with the whole naming convention thing. It's like, we're going to end up with a hub site and then a bunch of individual sites.
Because somebody, sorry,
not every Eden site technically has to be hosted on EOS though, does it? Like anyone can do the same thing on Ethereum and stuff, can't they? Should it be Eden on blockchain? Well, Eden on blockchain, and then here's, you know, pieces of software that lets you do it, and it just so happens there's one on EOS.
I mean,
there could be a site that's just EdenOS as well. That's like, you could do this without a blockchain. Here's how the system works, and then that's what describes that. But like very specifically for us, we are on EOS. That like we use the blockchain, and we are also funded by the blockchain. So, and we're also the like very specific subset of the community that is like, this is how we communicate. This is our locality. This is our language. This is our unfortunate circumstance that we have to segment ourselves.
It is kind of an interesting idea, though, to future-proof ourselves in the way that if we start thinking at least about how to architect a site that could serve as a hub for all languages, it'd be like the Eden of Eden's website. And then for now, we'd be like subdomain, EOS.
Well, if we break it down to smaller chunks, can we just make one item, just create a website for our instance of Eden on EOS, whether it's, Genesis or whatever we call ourselves, and it'll be the current domain that we do have for now, where we won't make massive changes now. And then when we do make that change, it won't be hard to, flip around the domains. That's, really trivial.
Yeah.
And go from that. So, but for now, we just keep this focused on building a professional, clean website that provides a good impression to new users that want to learn more about us.
Yeah. And I say all of this not to say that we should take this on. It's more to just think about like what the bigger picture looks like and where ultimately we will fit in that big picture. So yeah, I don't think it's our responsibility to build the hub of all the Eden websites, but we should make sure the one we build fits in that hub.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get the members portal to live on our domain at some point instead of being on a subdomain of a subdomain of a domain that's just EOS community. Be another point for the Clarion team to talk about. It's like, okay, now we want to like create a branded experience kind of, and this is the hub for this community specifically, since there will be more than one. They should look different. So
yeah, hopefully they'll offer white labeling and stuff like that if they do want to go for Eden's as a service. Kind of business. Yeah.
We might be a ways off from that, but it's probably a good seed to plant with that team.
Yeah. Cool. So what changes do we have to make to this document to get out the door and get it going? Did you guys want to get rid of the target amounts then, or like, but then
when did we lose Jesse? Did I miss something?
Oh,
I saw it put something in the chat, but
is that him who wrote "Let me in" and I deleted it? I thought that was from you, Aaron. When you
I thought that was from me too.
Was he still like stuck out? When did he?
Oh no.
Yes, the meeting was over a minute ago. Oh, he's been gone for about 20 minutes, it looks like.
Trying to get in. Shit.
He's just so quiet normally. It's
oops. You can try again. Jesse. I wasn't looking at Telegram, damn it.
No, we were all looking at this document.
Yeah. He didn't PM me anywhere that I can see.
I'll find a way to make it so you don't have to. It's just because I don't know. I just hit start meeting and then share the link and it forces it into this request access thing.
Wait, so did you get a hold of Jesse, or is he lost to us?
I don't know. Let's see if he responds to the comment here. Yeah, cool. He saw the reply. I like that you can see when someone replies. That's a handy thing.
For the proposal, I don't necessarily think too much has to be edited. Like, it doesn't matter if the targets are removed. Like, other proposals has that kind of thing. I think I was more bringing it up just to emphasize that we don't have to dive too deep into those details, because I think we're all still figuring out how to use it. So no additional effort on my opinion, or in my opinion, is needed to like clean anything specifically up.
Yeah, cool. I think the idea anyway with targets was just that, so the Pomelo pitch race is $300, and then suddenly my company's on the hook for making a website for $300 US, and and that's it, kind of thing. That was what my writer put that in for. I didn't even want to targets myself. He's like, nah, put in targets. Trying to cover the company, I think. But yeah. But
wasn't the idea that we like raise money? I was thinking before, because when Ray was going to do it, he was going to raise some funds and give it to us, and then we were just going to use it like a bounty of sorts to try to pay somebody to take care of it. Is that kind of what we're doing still, or is this different?
I think it's different.
How many pitches do you have up right now?
I think 2.
Okay. I think there's a limit of 3, so that's why I asked.
Did not know that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I think only one individual can only put up 3 for each season.
Cool. Well, I'm happy with these 3.
Jesse says he's trying to get in, but he's not showing up on my list. Oh, Randall, you're the host. That's why. Ha ha. I made you the host, so I don't even see the invite.
Oh, sorry. And I'm not really paying attention that much. Oh, sorry about
I appreciate your honesty.
that.
Always respectful.
We're professionals.
Yeah, okay. We are professionals.
We're good at this.
It's got to be Randall. Yeah, that's why I didn't notice. I'm like digging around. So if you go to participants, Randall, at the bottom, you should see, and it'll bring up a little side window, and then maybe you'll see him there at the top. Hopefully.
So again, if we propose this as a proposal from Aurelio Software to create a website, and then it has the blessing or approval of the Eden on EOS, thing, which again, I'm going to need.
Or maybe Randall, you
really.
can make me the host. Do you want to try clicking on me and make me host again?
Yeah, I'm bringing him. He's coming.
Oh, you got it. Okay, good,
Yeah.
sweet. Jesus, sorry, man.
Oh, finally. All right.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know that Chris made me the host.
It was a
Yeah.
bit of a cluster.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So, John, what were you saying?
Yeah, so if we frame it in a way where the proposal, because like legally for Mello want like a single entity, right? Like to do the KYC and stuff like that. So if I'm going to jump through those hoops already for Violet Garden, then yeah, it's not rocket science to do the same thing for this. So basically the proposal is Aurelio Software commissioned to create the Eden on EOS, website as a public good. And then it's, got the, the backing, the blessing approval of Eden on EOS to, make that happen.
And what happens if you don't get the amount needed?
Well, I thought what we could do is we just give that amount back to the Eden, I don't know, chief delegates or the treasury, and then from there they can decide what they want to do with the funds, in terms of the website. But yeah, like what do you guys want to do? Any surplus that gets given as well? If it raised 10 grand or 11.
Because maybe we could raise money and then just offer the bounty to the community and say, look, this is all we got, and who's willing to do it? Give us your proposals and we pick.
Yeah, but is that Pomelo friendly?
Well, once they hand us the money, it doesn't really matter. Once they hand you the money.
Okay, so I'll be used as like a proxy. So
yeah.
So it won't be. So it'll be me creating the pitch on Pomelo, but it won't be me that gets the money. The money will go to Eden, and then from there, Eden will decide who they want to contract the website out to.
Well, I think, weren't we discussing this in the context of if we didn't reach the amount, if you didn't reach your goal,
right?
And you're like,
okay, well, if we don't reach the goal, there is a button that says like don't accept the funds and put them back, kind of thing. So that's an option
really?
too. Yeah.
Well, so that's why maybe we should just think of another approach. Like if we're acting as a team of chief delegates to operate a collective website, then right, we just raise funds because we don't want to draw from our respective amounts because they all have good use. And we're trying to raise funds from the community to maintain this website. And whatever we get, we just put up a bounty. And then anybody, because I bet you there's enough hungry people out there that they might do something reasonable for less. And we just give the community a chance to submit options.
Well, I thought John was doing the website.
It's just if we don't get enough funds, so he can, but it's just if we only get, he needs X. No, say we only get $3,000.
Well, technically, we already have a site that I've made, right? Like the Eden community. So say we don't meet the targets and we still only get $300 and I'll do a few hours worth of work, and we'll call it that. Like we still already have a site that we can work with right now, right? And while it's not perfect, it's it's something to build off some, so we can keep polishing what we already have, if that were the case.
I think that
Right,
last sentence of the budget considerations kind of covers that.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Forgot about that. Got a good writer.
The one thing that's not covered is if a significantly higher amount of money is raised, what happens then? Like, what happens if there's $40,000 thrown at this?
There's 3 shit like augmented reality and
VR
Yeah.
metaverse.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to give a surplus over to the Treasury or wherever the hell you guys want me to put the money.
Yeah, Treasury.
Yeah.
Treasury
I mean,
works,
I
but
don't
then again, it's money that we don't have like control over.
What if we try to raise funds that's not just for the website? What if we try to just do a generic
Oh.
post that's about raising funds for all of the assets you might try to operate, and then we can just see what we get and decide how we want to split it up. Maybe it's just enough for the website, so that covers it, but maybe it's enough to also handle doing a Discord server if we want, or doing some other sort of media account, Twitter, any of these other things that we might be able to pay for.
Be a good clause to put in there. I mean,
That was kind of like Eve's point, right? We could raise funds as a group to cover some organizational expenses. This is just one of them. So there might be others. So if we did a more generic post.
Well, I was going to say, instead of even modifying this, maybe that's just a clause on the budget, the budgetary considerations, is that any funds well above and beyond this budget will then be used towards other media assets for the Eden EOS group, like at our discretion, at the chief delegate's discretion, maybe even.
yeah.
So then we could commission a video to be made, or like maybe some art assets, or like we could brainstorm and come up with other good things that might actually fit on the website.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I guess the only thing I don't love about this is I like it when we get to canvas the community. Like when I'm used to doing bigger project or even small projects, running solar plants and wind plants, we get bids, right? RFPs. We put out a set of guidelines proposal. We get multiple bids, and then we pick the best one. What we didn't do here is give the community a chance to offer their suggestions for the website. Especially, I mean, Eden members, right? So there's Eden member devs, and it gives us a chance to sort of empower some of them to maybe contribute and do something. John's got a lot on his plate. He's already doing Public Garden. So maybe, I don't know, just something to consider.
It also does say that Arello Software may outsource this proposal, which could be.
Maybe just change that to the chief delegates will outsource it. Like we should have that say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like it.
Some sort of mix between those two might work.
Even in general, like that's sort of my point though. I'm not I like the website John's made already, but I don't like the idea we didn't give anyone else a chance to try to offer this service. That's the part that just doesn't feel right. So I know John, that's not going to be probably what he was thinking about, but that's what's on my mind.
Well, I think one of the guiding ideas so far that's been expressed is to try to keep money in the community. And one of the things I'm trying to do with the film production thing is to have it be all Eden members, like we could go to all sorts of outside really talented film people, but we have talented film people in the community. And I'm sure we have talented web developers in the community. So I do think we as a community should put a premium on hiring from within, absolutely. And then the process for going about doing that is pretty undefined as of yet, but it could be a message in Telegram, but it'd be nice to have a job board. In fact, that would be another public good. That would be amazing. An Eden job board.
Yeah. I mean, we could do like one of those Google forms and just put it up in the Eden members chat and say, chief delegates looking for these things to get done. Pitch us your ideas. And one of them's the website. One of them, I don't know. I mean, other than website, I don't know what else there is right now because we're not doing a Discord yet. We don't have, or the need for, do we need anything else yet other than that? Twitter, will we do that ourselves? I mean,
Well,
once
we
get
could
the
use other
keys to that-
services. I don't know about products, but
Yeah, I just mean like
Like-
ways to offer jobs, quote unquote, that the Eden as an organization needs these tasks completed. So we offer
Oh,
up to
yeah,
the
I
community to complete them.
well, like a social media manager type person would be phenomenal. If anyone,
Yeah.
you know, like if Eden wanted to have people that were actively focused on, I mean, apart from the bees doing what they're doing, like to have like an official, quote unquote, you know, presence across those quote unquote official like assets that we have, and like make sure that they're being utilized in concert with one another, right, rather than just kind of firing off at random. That'd be extremely beneficial, I would imagine, especially if we're trying to like bring in new members and achieve the objectives of the website, or doing any sort of marketing push for the website, using a funnel, like driving traffic. I don't know, you know, like there's a whole world of things to be done there that we could put all sorts of people to work on if we wanted to. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the John, you missed just the one comment I was making about no, we didn't offer an opportunity for other Eden members to sort of bid on doing the website. So my thought is we put a proposal in to do what Eve was suggesting, which is raise funds just generically for Eden to cover community organization funds, which would be what Josh or Lovejoy was just speaking to, and the website itself. And so we raise funds for that, and then offer kind of like an RFP from the Eden members to, once we figure out how much money we get, then we figure out how much we can bounty for each of these, and then we pick. CDs we get to choose, we get to pick between the proposals, and we decide who gets the award of doing the job.
Yeah, we can do that. Who's gonna put up the Pamela pitch then for that?
Yeah, that's the problem. It's just that we'd need a completely different pitch at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. We've already got this ready to go. It's like ready to rumble.
I thought that was
Why would it-
for if more funds were raised over the targets, then we can use for something like that.
We can't.
Or-
Yeah, I'll be happy to be voted out of this. My preference would be we did an RFP and offered the opportunity to do the website to the entire Eden community, and not just have selected John ad hoc. I like your work, John, but I don't think we gave anyone else an opportunity to do it. That's my only point. But I'm happy to just back away from that, and we'll just submit this and go forward with what's written here. That's fine.
Well, but also,
Yeah.
I mean, John, there's nothing in this that's written that precludes John from doing that very same thing. It says right in there to contract it out. So it's like, well, contract it out to an Eden member if you want, you know, like I'm perfectly
Yeah.
happy leaving this at your discretion to be like, you know, because I mean, I wouldn't be able to evaluate a good web designer developer really anyway, personally. So it's like, you wouldn't want me to be on the panel of people like in the hiring process. So, you know, you and Aaron in this group, I think, are the ones that are most qualified to like make a determination about who should be building the website, and then building and overseeing it and building it in a way that's like, you know, compatible with the design ethos and everything that we want to be using. So I'm happy like just leaving you guys in charge, but I do like Chris's idea of kind of like reaching out to the community for talent instead of just kind of like getting in, you know, because when you're way to the bathroom, one of the things I was saying is like, that's one of the guiding like ideas of Eden so far, is to like keep money in the community and to like first go, I mean, it's going to be built into the treasury pretty soon that, you know, when money exits, there's a tariff on it. So, you know, we should probably just behave as though that's already in place if possible.
I think this proposal might open us up to be able to do that. With even the first target, it's talking about developing content. And do we have somebody to develop that content? It would be really easy to just say, hey, community, like we can build this, we want to build this website and we need X, Y, and Z to make that happen. Somebody to write some words and fill in the blanks, maybe somebody to design some assets, maybe.
Well, your support would be good for that.
Yeah, so the thing is, John, I'm gonna push this on you because you've already done the work, right? And you have the experience, you have the eyes, you have done a great job. So basically, someone has to head this. Someone has to be the person or one of the chief delegates that lead this initiative, right? So it's okay, if you need a designer, you get a designer. If you need a content creator, you get a content creator. Whoever that we need, at least we can find the talent in the community, and then we will just go from there, right? So you lead the initiative, and then we go from there. I think that would be fine, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Should we create like a? What were you gonna say, John?
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, well, I was kind of anticipating that one of the, I'm getting ahead of us, but one of the points of friction, I think, in sourcing members from within the community and then being able to like evaluate and then work with them is just that we have no procedure or even a communications channel in place for hiring from within the community at all. So maybe it would at least make sense to have like the most basic sort of Eden job board channel somewhere that such things would be
posted.
Because I can see John being like, I don't want to spend all this time trying to find somebody from the community when I can go to one of these really well organized job boards that's already in existence and just be like, bam, designer, qualified, done. Instead of like, because it's true, it's like it's a very inefficient, like it's going to cost John or whoever is administrating this more time to do it internally right now. So thinking about how to mitigate that might.
Yeah, well, in terms of some of the content, I was thinking if there's guides on the site, EOS support can help with that. For translations, ESPs can help with that. They've already done the translations for the first two pitches that I put up. And then if there's a cool web developer in Eden that knows what they're doing, I'd be happy to outsource them and use them as an asset for getting it done as well. Like I've got cooler things to develop in Violet Garden too. So
maybe leverage was it Waxa, who's starting like marketing now?
Yeah.
I saw that on Pomelo. Is Waxa in Eden?
Yeah, he is now.
He is.
Awesome.
I've been working closely with Waxa. He's joining EOSBs.
Awesome.
So I can be the point person if we want to reach out to Waxa.
Yeah.
Great.
And my thought there is just that like the message needs to be pretty concise for new users who are coming into this. So I'm not the right person for that job. I can tell you when it's good, but I can't do it. I'm terrible at like delivering the message.
So vote-wise, Randall, do I have your vote?
Yeah.
I don't quite understand what we're voting.
Just putting up this pitch.
Who's going to be paying Waxa to do this?
Oh, well, we get this. Yeah, money out of this.
I think a lot of this was just to address, like, let's say this project raises more money or the correct amount of money. Like, it seems like that's going to kind of trickle out to other people and entities as well to work on this. And it does state it in there that this isn't just one entity's. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. This could be a kind of community collaboration if we want it to be.
Okay.
Cool. So
I vote yes.
Jesse says yes. Lovejoy?
Yep, I'm down.
And Aaron?
Sure.
Cool. And then Chris?
No, not the way it's worded now. I don't agree with how we're doing it.
Oh,
Cool.
What is the thing we haven't changed?
I think I don't agree with the fact we've given John the contract to do the website without canvassing Eden members to have a chance to pitch to do the contract.
We
within
can't
the Eden
do that unless we had a nonprofit or some sort of entity that could make that pitch. Right now, we need one organization to make the pitch and manage
Yeah,
it.
but the pitch should be to raise funds to build a website. But
That's
we've
what
already
this is.
yeah, but we've decided who, and that's where I think we didn't give the Eden members a chance.
Have you
To
scrolled
pick the
down a
who.
little bit?
With the way it's worded,
just
I know he has the
Software
option to
will
change it.
hire a web
He has the
designer
option,
or
yeah,
firm.
he has the option to. But that's like, so to me,
Scroll
it's
up a
raise
little
raise
bit.
a pot of money, and we don't know what we're going to get. We don't need to put milestones. We just raise a pot of money for EOS or Eden assets. Anyway, it's okay. 5 against 6. It doesn't, like, go ahead. It's a
Yeah, is
I
Chris
thought-
the only declining vote?
yeah. I'm the only
Yeah.
one who said no, so it's fine. You can go ahead and do it.
Okay, so let's do it.
I was just trying to address your concerns. And
yeah, and I
maybe
thought we
sway
had
your
just addressed
support.
your
Yeah.
concerns.
I
so-
would prefer to do an RFP. I like when I run projects, I don't like to pick within the guys who have the decision to actually execute, to pay them to do the project. That's actually kind of immoral in a way. We're the ones who get to choose how to spend these funds, and we didn't give anyone else a chance to do an RFP. We've chosen amongst ourselves with no outside input. So to me, that's just not normally how I do it in business. But I mean, again, that's why I voted no. But it's fine. You guys voted yes. It's totally cool.
Explain RFP to me.
It's a request for proposals. So whenever you're going to spend some
Oh.
capital funds, like, so when we would do bigger jobs, any job, in fact, at a win site, you would never want to just, it's just too easy to have cronyism. So it's always a bad look when you want to have a job done and not only get one quote to do the job. You'd always get multiple quotes. And the last thing you do is just give the job to one of the guys who gets to decide who give the job to. That's
So
typically not the way to do it. So
Can't John do the pitch and then do an RFP?
he could. And that's my point. The way it's worded now, that's nowhere near what this says.
under
That's-
right under target one $8,000. Rello software.
We'll hire.
Yeah.
I mean, well, if he changes it to do we will perform an RFP to.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to look
Eden
at.
members, the Eden member, like the Eden Chief Delegates should put up an RFP to cover our assets. You mentioned a media person, Lovejoy. I'm suggesting the website's another asset, and we should raise money just to cover our assets. You don't have to mention the website's just one of them. This is only about the website. So to me, it would be, we're raising capital to cover Eden community expenses, which include website and community manager. We will offer these up to Eden members to fulfill these positions, and we'll do an open sourcing of people to do the job. That's how I would do it. But again, I don't want to belabor this. We're nearly in 3 hours. You guys have all voted okay with it. Just move forward. That's fine.
Well, I think you raise a good point, and it does sound like a good way to do things. In the interest, we could expedite things and go this way, or we can revisit this. I'm open either way. But
I'll rewrite it if you want. I know you've paid for a writer. I'll just tweak this bit about any of this budgeting and just simply say chief delegates are raising funds. And Rello software is going to take the responsibility of taking the funds and distributing on behalf of the chief delegates. You can take a fee perhaps if there's tax consequences for that. And then we canvass the community, Eden community specifically, to fulfill these jobs that we've set up. So we empower the community to participate.
But again, the community's participated by electing us, the chief delegates. I don't know why we've been elected to make decisions, only to just delegate those decisions back down the chain again.
Well,
Anyway,
you still retain the decision-making power.
True.
Is that what you were going to say, Aaron?
It's fine.
Yeah.
We can get a couple of, web designers to bring their work, and we can make a decision on that, right? It's fine.
Yeah, ultimately, we would be the ones deciding which proposal to accept.
Yeah. John, are you okay with letting Chris take a crack at a rewrite that includes an RFP option in the thing?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what the difference is. Basically, Rello software will take on the money, but then it won't be the party that does the work. It will go to the RFP, and then the RFP decides what to do.
yeah, you nailed it. Exactly. RFP is just a series of proposals we'll get. And you probably do this, Randall. You run business, right? Is this similar?
Chris is just saying that, you are just representing us, right? Six of
Yeah.
us. So once you get the money, then at least we have all the projects, in a bucket. We look at all the projects, and then we pick which one we are going to give the contract to. Then we give the contract to that project. That's the best way for us to do things. So at this point in time, maybe I have to be very blunt here. You don't have the contract, John.
No, but again, how long do we want to wait before we give out a contract out?
Exactly. That was exactly my question. Yeah.
So at this point in time, if we want to try to address,
send it.
if you want to address everyone's concern,
says the guy who's going to get the money. Send it. Come on, guys.
Send it to if there, if Aaron says he wants to do it, send it to a trusted developer that we know is will work it well and get out the door. But like I don't see a line of people saying, "Give me the money, I'll fucking I'll pump it."
We haven't asked anyone. We've never asked.
No one's come to us. No one's come with a drafted Pomelo pitch with translations to get it out the door and get it going.
John, but we can rewrite it. We get the money. Then after we get the money, we just move on. Let's just do it that way so that everyone is at least, No,
but it's a valid question that hasn't been answered yet. Once we get the money and this RFP, how long do we give the people to show us their draft of the website?
Then let's make a time. Let's
couple weeks.
We have 3 days, 3 days, 4 days, 4 days.
Well, and we can start, putting the word out while the Pomelo pitch is still.
So they have 3 weeks to see the Pomelo pitch, and then at the end of the period, we get the matching funds, and then they have 72 hours after we get the matching funds to submit their proposal.
It might take a little while for the funds to show up because I think that's when the KYC and the validation and all that comes into effect. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that quick. I do agree with John's sentiment about just getting this done, but this process might be worth going through, even if there's only like 2 people that come forward and say like, I want to do it. We still do have 19 days until Pomelo ends. So we have a little bit of time before anything really happens.
Yeah, it's like an opportunity for us to get this
done. An experiment.
Yeah.
It might
I agree with that.
It might not have been worth the time. Maybe John's the only one that's like, I'll do it. Like that's a real outcome that could come of this. But I think maybe setting this as kind of a process is probably a good thing to at least try.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it, but.
Yeah, same here, So, John, of all the people here, you are the best person. You've volunteered to do it, but the process is also very important, right? We care for you, we love you, but, at the same time, I think for us to do this the right way, it's always a good thing. Right?
Yeah, I think if there was a bunch of people and we knew there was a bunch of people out there saying, hey, can I please do the website? Can I do the website? And we're just, we've got so much choice, then sure, let's do the RFQ thing or whatever it is. But, I don't know, it seems like such a ghost town right now. And we've already got a website that I built in 6 hours, like right there. Like, yeah, I would say let's just, get it out there, and then, it can be changed, later on if we want to as well. It seems like a lot of bloat and extra work to do this RFQ thing. Is it worth the trade? All the time and the money that we spend doing the RFQ thing, rather than just sending this out now, especially
why is the
RFP
a lot of time and money?
I don't know. It sounds complicated.
Just a rewrite.
I can do it. I can handle this one. This is in my wheelhouse. I can run the RFP in terms of requesting proposals from the community, and I can even rewrite the pitch.
So, well, how soon can you rewrite the pitch?
As soon as we end this call, give me a half hour.
20 minutes. How's it going to work? But how's it going to work with the community? They just put in information to a Google form proposing.
I will do a request for proposals. So proposal to do the website, I'll request for them. And that's basically,
I'll they provide the links.
And I'll curate it.
Our URL.
Exactly. They provide work they've done in the past, an example of what they'd like to, I'll ask for some questions about how do they envision the site could look, give us some examples. You've done yours, so you're way step ahead of the game here.
So
I'll present them to everybody. You don't have to worry about that. And then we can pick amongst 2, 3 plus 1 who we want to give the job to. And we'll, by then too, if we wait until after December 1st, we know how much money this raises, we'll actually know how much money to offer. Because that's the key also piece. This answers the bounty piece, how much. So let's wait till we know how much and then see what people can do for that much. Because right now you've suggested you can do what you can do for $8 grand. Awesome. We may only get 4. Now what? So we're kind of going to have to do this anyway. So why not just plan to do that, since it, my view is it's the more ethical way to do it. And I'll write it up and do all the work. You don't have to worry about it.
But
Well,
so, but again, when do we decide who the winner of the RFQ is? Before the Pimela pitch goes out?
The queue is for qualifications, but so we won't worry about that. I mean, that'll be part of the RFP because they'll kind of give us some of their work. But
Okay.
we would do it after we receive the money. So December 1st, we'll know how much we get. Between now and December 1st, I can start requesting proposals. So it gives a whole 3 weeks of gathering proposals, and then I'll present it once we have a budget. And even, I mean, that's the thing. Well, I'll make the point that we don't know how much we're going to get. So if you're going to make a proposal, be wary of, like, maybe put an amount you'd like to see to do your task. And we'll just have to cross that bridge and respect that some proposals may be not relevant if we don't get enough money.
Okay, well,
What's that, Randall?
Budget, right? We have the head chief who has a budget. So just in case, if whatever happens, Aaron can also be able to help out a little bit with that, right? So I think no matter what,
Hopefully we don't need to. Like, hopefully we get enough and we get somebody who's willing to do it. Like, maybe we get 4K and it's like someone's like, look, I can do it because I can just copy paste this other website that's wicked. And we're like, yeah, it's wicked. And then it's cheap. So there's options.
well, you can have the current site for free if you want. So it's right there. So open source.
I think this
makes-
is also an opportunity to look for content writers, like the marketing side of
Great
things.
idea.
Like, we can also say, hey, we all like the proposals that people can submit could be various aspects of this, because I don't think, like, we don't want the site we have right now. Well, it would be an upgrade, that's for sure. But we probably do want somebody with a keen eye of, like, storytelling to go through it and be like, okay, this is the story that this initial section tells of what pulls the user in. And that's a completely different role than somebody who actually designs the page. I have designers on my team, and they just, like, they put some words in just to kind of express an idea, but then somebody afterwards comes through and is like, no, this is how we express this in a way that actually makes sense. So that during this 3-week process, we could also approach people that were like, hey, we need somebody to also deal with, like, the presentation, the word presentation of this site, the marketing of it. And that could be somebody completely different than somebody who's actually designing the site. They'll have to work together in the end. Maybe it's the same person. I haven't met that person, but I've met a lot of people that try to do it all, and none of it is done well.
Yeah, well, I guess we just could appreciate the more that we try to centralize the process, the more it comes at the cost of, coordination in a sense. And if it's like, stop everything, we've got to get everyone's opinion before we do this and that, like, it's going to slow us down a fair bit. But in terms, like, does this kind of changes the legal side of things, though? Because, like, now I'm accepting the funds for the company, but then it's not the funds that are, coming in for a job. I'm sort of holding on to it, aren't I? And then I'm to redelegate the funds to whoever, like, gets the proposal.
It would be just like if you were paying out a contractor, like the proposal says right now, like you were hiring a firm to do some of the work.
Okay.
Got to do a
so,
ball break. Be right back.
Cool. I think you'd still be the one taking in the funds. You'd be getting paid to accomplish this job. And then if you outsource pieces of the work, that's, I think, how it would be accounted for.
You're still basically gonna be the owner of the job, right? So technically, when you have the money and you decide that you want to do something that you cannot do, you get a bid from different people, right? Even though the money is yours, you outsource to these people, and sometimes it's different guys with different bids, and you put them together and they accomplish the task that you want, right? So that's what's going to happen. Instead of you, let's say, hiring yourself, and you can still hire yourself, John, depending on your pitch and how everyone agrees on things, right? You can still hire yourself if you all agree that, okay, of all the people that we have, you seem to be the best fit, or your company seem to be the best fit for the job, right?
Right, but with the RFP, if I'm to, like, the RFP dictates, and there's a 2/3 plus one consensus that someone, Bob does the website, that means that Arella Software will contract Bob of the amount that's decided to do it.
Yes.
Well, if that's the case, if there's no
you can pay
profit
for your administrative services.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll have to come up with a fee for the administrative services if that's what we end up with.
Well, and you can still take
Then-
aspects of it as well. Like, I'd want to make sure that it is, on GitHub, and we have continuous integration, and that we have some sort of process for deploying the site. I think that there's still a decent amount of responsibility that a designer isn't going to fulfill, that you have that technical knowledge. You should be paid to apply that technical knowledge.
Okay.
Totally.
I don't think it's like completely pulling the whole thing away from you. It's just a matter of
trying to
getting.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm trying to picture how much it influences it and how much it doesn't.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I think it sets a good precedent.
And then what happens if someone is shit, we think they're a good developer, and then they say, oh, I did this in 10 hours, and it's well, this is crap. Do I then have to come back to you guys and say, hey guys, this is the experience that I've had, can we get a 2/3 plus one vote on what to do with this contractor? Can we still have him, can we not? And then are we going to debate over what to do with the contractor again?
No.
No, because I thought that we were delegating roles. So the whole CEO with this, and you do this and you do that. So I thought it was a role thing.
Works. No, that's not how that works. The CEO, it's the point about roles is it's not about a hierarchy. So the role is who does the website. That's the role. So we get to decide who does that role. And so far, you are being selected as the person who's doing that role. And we have not offered anyone else in the community an opportunity to do that role. That is my main qualm. We're not offering anyone else a chance. We're just saying John's the guy. And I disagree with that. Not because of anything to do with you, John, and the work that you do. It's the principle that we've come across, that we've come to that decision.
All right. And
we didn't offer anyone else a chance.
And Lovejoy, you revoked your vote then? We've no longer got 5, out of 6 like we did before?
Correct.
All
Just because I think we're setting a better precedent by doing it this way. And I think that's a main part of our legacy is to get the process down for how to operate rather than just bang out really
Guys,
fast.
I gotta go. I'm sorry.
Come on, 4 hours. 4 hours. We got 1 hour left.
Sorry, guys.
4 hours. 4 hours. Well, I just think it makes sense to operate this way, and I also really want. I don't think take it to extremes where it's well, we need to ask the community for their feelings about everything, because that's not what we're doing. We're just looking for a select group of people that are willing to put themselves out there, and that also gives us information as a community about who in our community we can turn to for quality work. I mean, maybe we find out that they do shit work, but then we know that too. So yeah. It's more of a long-term value thing. It's not a quick turnaround, but it's I see it as a win on process, possibly a win on ethics, and a win on just information about the pool of talent that we have to work with. And then people feel like their input mattered, and that matters too to the community as well. We've all seen how shitty we've felt over the last several years waiting for mystical invisible block one to bring us marketing we've never seen before, when they could have just done 1,000 times better by saying, all right, community, here's a bunch of money, market for us, you know what I mean?
And it makes sense financially for Eden to see what its options are. Again, if there is a web developer that can do it, better work for, cheaper, that could be a better option. But Chris, we were discussing before again. So if I'm still putting up the Pomelo pitch, but then am I simply serving as a proxy for distributing the funds? How much influence do I have over the funds, or do I have no influence over the funds and it's just purely 2/3 plus one? And then again, my company is just a proxy for the money. How does that work?
Yeah, you're a proxy. You have say though. You're not nothing. You have 1 out of 6.
Okay, so yeah, I just have chief delegate say then.
Yeah, for sure.
So
and then
if
you can charge a fee. Here's the other thing. If because of you're stepping up to kind of take on these funds and do that extra effort, Arello could charge a fee for distribution.
And then so in the RFP, then we would elect someone that's actually responsible for the umbrella thing, like actually getting the website done. Like, you might have a content writer, you might have a designer, and then you have the coder. So one person is going to be the leader and saying, all right, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you to do this. So, and
Well,
that
we'll
will
hand it
also be
off.
decided by the RFP.
We'll delegate it. Yeah. Well, the RFPs will allow people to provide a bid to do a task. So we define the task. It could be exactly what we've just done. We could split it into multiple people.
Who's deciding the task?
That was the word I used.
Well, how many tasks do you anticipate there being?
I don't know. There's 6 of us. We could come up with. I mean, website developer, content creator, social media.
Yeah, but
probably
already,
4 tasks.
well, this is different than what we discussed, sort of, because
we haven't really talked about it at all. I mean, fairness. We just said website developer, but I guess, in terms of content, they'll do whatever we tell them.
If there's like several decisions to make, are we going to have to make 2/3 plus 1 every single decision? Because the original pitch was
delegation. Because websites are fairly stagnant. Am I wrong on that? Like, you kind of develop it once and you just kind of let it sit minus updates. Is that fair?
Yeah, but you like, there's a content writer.
There's not many decisions to be made. Just fill it up once.
There's a role for a project lead to be overseeing the whole thing, if that's what you're getting at, and that could be you just as much as
could be you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'd be happy delegating.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to voting on every silly little thing. I
don't want.
You put someone in charge of it, but they do the basics. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, I want you to be able to take feedback. Like, but I don't.
We offer that role to anyone in the community, right? Yeah. We offer the role of website that hosts whatever we want to call it. We offer that to the community. We accept resumes, requests for proposals, and we pick. That's the only decision we really have to make. And it's a decision we should make. And it's a decision that every set of chief delegates should be able to make. That was the whole point I made all along about having roles. The role persists. This role that we define, however we define it, will persist for the next set of chief delegates. And they can do this all over again and pick someone else.
Yeah, but is this role content design and
we can figure it out. We could end this call now and at least agree with the fact. Because now we're getting into the weeds. Like, is it solved by having you do this?
This is the point.
By letting you do it, are you the constant guy? Like, is that what you're suggesting? Is if we don't discuss these things, you just default to take the responsibility, and we solve.
I'm the guy that's going to get shit done. Like, if we can't already say, like, okay,
anyway, that's my vote. That's what I'm looking to do. So I'm looking to submit a pitch. We can end this call now, and we'll figure out the details.
But in time, this will take us weeks now.
Well, yeah, but I think the point of it is to establish a process. Like, we're going to have to do this again. And instead of us just doing everything, like, we need to experiment with processes for us to be able to do these things. Because you're right. I could easily go sit down and sit with my designers and developers and crank out a website tomorrow. Do I want to? No. But
will we have gained anything organizationally? As a result of you taking on that role? It's like if your dad always does something for you, and then one day you have to do it by yourself, and you're like, I don't know. Like, it's like Eden needs to figure out its process for how to. Like, we need to figure out our process for how to.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's basically the process of, like, how decentralized are we, compared to centralized, and then the cost of decentralization versus centralization.
And the costs are always going to be higher for us right now. Like, we're going to pay the highest cost of any other chief delegates ever again. Basically, because we have to pioneer all this.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to add, I don't think there's a huge priority to have a website next week. I think we need to have a website maybe like a month before the next election. That should probably be our target. Like, nobody's going to go look at the Eden on EOS website right now. There's no reason to. Well, we're kind of in a stagnation phase.
I'll present at meetups, and I'll do presentations. I've done a presentation in front of like 20 people a couple of weeks ago about Eden on EOS, and I showed off the portal and, like, this is our elections, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting people excited about it. And they're like, what's the website? And I'll be like, oh, it's just this Genesis.Eden thing, because I don't want to show them the old website because it's a turnoff. So I don't know. I would say that a decent website, the sooner the better. That it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be amazing, solve everything, but again, something to look at that we can improve upon, you know, sooner rather than later to give that good first impression, because first impressions count. And again, if I saw the current website as it is today, and that's all I saw, I wouldn't be part of Eden on EOS. Like I would have thought it'd be lame, you know, based on that website.
Basically just described the last 3 years of EOS.
Yeah, well,
we're being brutally honest.
Well, yeah, okay. So yeah, describing the last 3 years of EOS, which was because too much decentralization. This is what Eve said in his interview, right? He's like, we need more centralization to get stuff done. So that's what I thought Eden would be with the chief delegates, where it's like, right, let's make a decision, centralized, you know, decision, go. But now if the argument is like, no, hang on, let's be more decentralized, it's like, now we've got all these extra.
We're just saying no.
We're sort of block wanting again.
No, John, we're not saying that we are being decentralized. We're just saying that we have to give other people the opportunity for them to present their pitch, their bid. That's all that we are saying. There's nothing else.
Yeah, but Block One ever did.
If you're hungry. If you're hungry, McDonald's is right next door. How much opportunity did you give, you know, the other restaurants?
We're thinking it like it's like a person with control. When a person has control all the time, that's how they think. They don't allow for people to do things because they always feel like they're the ones who are supposed to do things. But that's not the right way to build a community, right? So what we are saying is this. We are saying that we know that you can build a website. I can actually build a website too. I have a team.
Yeah, right? Anyone can do it.
Right? But the goal is this. We want to give the community the ability to present what they have, to give them, at least to let them feel like they are part of this, right? And if we don't get the right people, fine. We have your job here. We look at it. We look at everyone else's job, and then we will pick. That's all that we are saying, and that's the right thing to do.
And if this is a complete effort and futility and results in nothing productive happening, I will be the first to be like, nope, let's just do it next time.
Yeah.
That's a real situation that could happen.
So, okay. So again, with the RFP solution, the company serves as a proxy. I'll contract, you know, invoices out or whatever from my company to whoever Eden decides, however the hell that's going to look like. That's yet to be defined.
And any responsibilities.
How long do we anticipate this process taking until we make that decision and people are elected for jobs?
End of the month, maybe? Is that too long, too short?
We have to give them, we won't know how much money we have until Pamelo's done. So once Pamelo's done, we have an amount. Then we decide how to divvy up the amount between the roles we decide, which I'll take a stab at a couple of roles to get the ball rolling on picking these key things we can maybe fund as key responsibilities. And then once we have how much money, we make a decision. And then we give them money and they do it.
We say, go, do your thing. Yep. And I will say any most likely the people we're going to be getting aren't going to be of the same technical level that we're going to want. Because I think I mentioned this earlier. I don't have to go too deep into it, but like those responsibilities, I have no problem deferring to you, John.
Same.
Yeah, you're top of the list for guys who can do it. We just haven't. We should give everyone else a chance. Even if it's just like a faux, just for a show. Maybe we just like listen. Hey, buddy, John, don't worry. You're good, pal. Let's put on a show for the crowds. At least think they're included. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, I like that idea, but then I have fears like, you know, if I you know, took on the job as sort of overseeing X, but then I've got to work with people Y and Z, and then I don't know that they're a pain. And or they do something wrong, and then I got to go back to you guys, and they get a 2/3+1 of like changing the person that we're working with. Like again, it's a double-edged sword. Like, you know, it's great to use people in the community, but if they fail us,
every set of chief delegates, though, won't that always be a problem with the website?
Yeah,
what if heaven forbid, just throwing this out there. I mean, no, it sounds crazy, but what if you suck at this and you don't deliver what you're supposed to? Then what do? We're still screwed. So no matter what, we're always going to be relying on a human to do this task. Currently, you want us to rely on you, and that's fine. But I think we're always going to have this problem. We just have to accept it and pick the right person, but give everyone a chance to be that person.
Okay,
Be the
but
people you can be. Care about.
I don't know. Yeah, or like time wise, you know, this gets, you know, if I'm working with people that I don't know and then I can't pick, then again, you know, that can blow up my time. Like if they
We all work with
have
them.
bad,
We all work with them, and then the funds get moved eventually from your Orelo account to Chief Delegate MSIG.
all right, well, we'll
And
see
by
what
then
the
maybe we'll have a
proposal.
trust, and then we can take care of the trust with the funding to pay it.
We'll see what the proposal is, but essentially, yeah, well, yeah, we'll see what you come up with.
John, we can pay you an annoyance fee or like for bearing the cost of future, like smoothing the rails for future administrations to not have to go through the same bullshit again, because this is like uncharted territory, and you're going to have to do a little hand holding when it comes to put in this motley crew, you know, or like to work on these different aspects. And hopefully like we're all like Eden members, and you know, we're kind to each other and good, reasonably good communicators. So it shouldn't be like just hiring somebody on Fiverr and then like not knowing, you know.
Exactly.
Because if you pick someone ahead of project and that head of the project doesn't get to pick who they work with, then again, I don't know.
I don't think you had the project. I don't know why. I don't think that's necessarily.
Yeah, but if I were,
trustee owns the asset, and we pick someone to take on the task of delivering a website.
Yeah, all of us, we're gonna pick together.
Yeah, but
that person has to deal with it, and then we funnel the funds to them to deal with it.
Someone needs to take ownership of the project, like the overall components of the website.
Yeah, that person we hire, we appoint to that role after receiving applications. That's right.
Yeah, well, I just hope that you find like a good candidate, you know.
Me too.
For
I do too. I hope we find something good. I mean, worst case, we've got you. You're already here, so you've already got
but
you realize you sound a
weird
bit
to
like
say.
this is salesman-y. I feel like you're trying to sell that John needs to get paid to do this. And I mean, do you agree at least that it's less ethical to decide amongst ourselves to pay someone for a task that belongs to the community? It's a community task, community website. You don't think it's unethical to select amongst ourselves and not even offer the opportunity for anyone else in the community to do that? No?
No, well, I think that the centralization is a selling point. I think that we were elected to make things and make unit decisions quickly and to get stuff done and actually deliver to the community, and not, you know, ask how can we make this more democratic? How can we get more votes of the community for this and that and stuff?
This is about how to spend money ethically.
We were elected.
Spending funds ethically. It's about the payment. If there was no payment involved, I'd be a lot less concerned about this. But
ethically is a bit.
So
that's correct. We offer, and that's what RFPs do. They're an ethical way. That's why any company who has serious money always do RFPs. It's totally wrong to only go off of one content. I would get fired from my previous job.
If it's the company's money, they can do what they want with it. Why?
I would have gotten fired. Just
okay,
to,
guys.
so you know,
real quick though, John brought up something that I feel like is, you know, like a reasonably good point, and I wanted to talk about it, which is that like he's the one that's going to have to. I mean, if he was in this position, and I think he probably should be in the position to like administer these roles, and like it only seems right that he would have more say. In a sense, like if we were meeting and it was like 2/3 plus 1, like again, I'm going to defer to John or Aaron on like who the ideal candidate is. Like I don't even feel that my weight, you know what I mean? Like,
but Brandon, that's all part of the vote. So when it's time for you to
that's
vote,
what I'm saying. But I'm saying this to reassure John that like it's not as though you're going to have to fight with all 5 of us being like, no, John, like we want this person for stupid reason X, you know, like we're going to want you to be happy with the candidate, and we're going to defer to you, you know, more than not, if you're heading up the thing, you know what I mean? So it's not like,
at least we need to give other people a chance. That's all that this is. At least we have to put this out there to the community. People have to bring their proposal. We have to look at them, and based on the proposals that are on the table.
Well, what if there was a compromise where again it's just, hey, who wants to do the whole website, you know, as a company, so offer different companies to do the website pitch. But if we're cherry picking, okay, you're the content creator, and then you're the coder, and you're that, and then all three of you have to come together now, and away you go. I feel like that's a bit inefficient. Like, you know, it should just be a company or a group or whatever that's responsible for getting out there, and away they go. But if we got to do 2/3 + 1 on cherry picking the team to do it, and then hoping that they're going to get along and get stuff done, and then again, if they got different time zones and stuff like that, then yeah, it's not as simple as the initial proposal, was.
No, it's not. But does it have other advantages in the long run?
It does, but yeah, I don't think they're worth the cost so much.
Yeah, and I think this is the difficulty. A lot of the things that you've described are like our own budgets. We get to, that is like, I'm doing onboarding stuff. I'm not asking for proposals. I know it needs to be done, and I am paying for it to be done right now. There was no consideration put out there, but that is my individual mandate as opposed to something that we're trying to collaborate on. So I feel like we have to kind of change that slightly to meet this communal asset. I don't know. This might blow up in our face and take way longer than it needs to, but I'll give it a shot.
John, how much do I need to pay you to humor us here? What's your cost?
Now we hear there's going to be a pitch put up that we could donate to.
Yeah, I want to pay. Just let me pay you humorous money so that we can like kind of agree to give this a shot. And
all right, well, give it a shot, but it's not until I read the proposal that Chris makes and I get a better idea of what the deal is before I put my hat into the ring on being an asset, as that would possibly contribute towards the website.
Pay you to be the project manager. So basically,
yeah, I might not want that deal because the initial deal didn't cost me that much time, and I knew exactly who I would want to work with and to get stuff done. But if my team is now, random and I don't know who they are, different time zones and stuff, and it's costing me more money, more pain, and I got, Violet Garden to build. So again, this was that I didn't want this to be a too much of a big thing on my plate. It's mainly just meant to be dessert. But if it's gonna fill me up and take me off my steak and my Violet Garden project, that's what I'm responsible for. The Eden community, they put me there to really focus on Violet. So if this puts me into this environment where it's costing me too much time, then I don't think it'd be something that I want to go for.
That's fine. I mean, can you still use your Aurella software as a catalyst to funnel the funds, minus whatever fee it costs you to do that, and then you move it from and you don't have to project manage. You just are a recipient of the donation that we then put to work and pick our project manager?
Yeah, possibly. I'll just have to look into the legal side of that, I guess. Talk to an accountant to, I don't know, take a look and make sure the administrative stuff, costs that. Because I might say, sounds good. I'll charge $500 for it, and then it cost me $1,000 in figuring that all out, and then issuing invoices and all my admin, overhead. Then it might not be worth it. So again, I got to figure out what that actually looks like. For me, I don't know what that looks like. When you know what I'm signing up to there.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say that I would be in the same position if I were the one that had written this pitch and was like, my team's doing it, and then as we approached this topic, all of a sudden it was, let's offer other people the opportunity to do it. I would back out, just because I can't bear that responsibility right now. I have too much other stuff on my plate. So that is a totally understandable position. And to come full circle is why I've kind of pushed for an organization to be able to do this for us. I know that we keep swinging back and forth on this topic, but this is the reality of the situation, and I can't blame you one bit for whichever decision you make with Aurella.
Same.
So, but I do think that giving the community an opportunity to do things like this is a good thing.
I agree. I just think it should be company based, and it shouldn't be, hey, I'm a good content writer and hey, I'm a good coder, and then we match them together. It should be like, which company wants to, do it.
Well, yeah, if there's a one-stop shop that does all of this stuff, that's awesome. I guess I was thinking about more individuals in the community, but maybe one of those individuals represents a company that could do it all. And that's
Yeah,
awesome.
well, if they want to create an internal team, and then they can either be their own, mini DAO, or have their own company, or do whatever the hell they want to do to coordinate, they can do that. I like that idea.
I think that's the direction we're headed in general as a community, is like a community of teams of people working in different DAOs, sub DAOs, kind of like different companies that are like, I want to do film production, and you guys are focused on your respective projects, and we can all use each other's services when we need them.
Yeah. And then again with EOSBs for translations, and then there's another guy in Eden community called Zach, and he's good at writing, so I was gonna do him. So it's not like my first preference wasn't Eden assets.
I'm thinking about possibly maybe building. I think we need a freelance website where we can get people to.
A job boards that I'm coming full circle back to that now.
I think that's right there, right? Because now you don't know who knows how to do what, right? It makes it so difficult.
And who's available to do what?
Yeah. We do need a job board type thing.
Yeah. Like
well, like at a hackathon. Huh?
I said task dispatcher.
Like
Mellow bounties.
I like to think of it like a hackathon, like at the beginning of the few hackathons I've been to, it was just like large number of people in a room. Some of them knew each other, some of them didn't. And then there are people that had projects that they wanted to work on. And they put together a team from those, some people they knew, some people they didn't know in the room. And now that you had all these teams, and some of those teams worked really well and some of those teams didn't. But like, that's kind of the way we could treat the Eden community. It's like this mass of people that could form into teams when need be, potentially. And some of them are not available, and some of them, and some of them may form into, like, we may create an opportunity here that then turns into a team that really works really well, and they stay together as a team of people that just continue working on this sort of thing. Maybe they end up doing website development for like the whole community. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it could be a catalyst for.
Yep. And that's what we are forming here. The six of us, we can start a business. Okay. And hopefully we'll work well together.
Chief Delegate consultants.
So
yeah,
it's just an opportunity. I just feel like in life, when you don't give someone the chance to prove who they are and the ability for them to also be part of something, it's always difficult for you to get the best out of people, so you have to always give people a chance. And that's how you actually build a house, right? That's how you actually build a car, airplanes. It's all different companies. They do whatever that they are doing, they reassemble them, right? So the project manager is responsible for getting the parts from the different people and assembling the final product. So the same situation we are here, right? So we have a bunch of chief delegates. Each person is doing their own work. But at the end of the day, we needed one person to manage the project for us. So that one person is still a person who can also earn the contract to use their company to build. So I don't know, it shouldn't be as difficult as we have it now, but I understand the situation that we are in. So what we can do moving forward is we can still raise the money, and we can decide which company we want to use to funnel the money, or which person is going to do the KYC to funnel the money. And that person can be an administrator, and all of us will pick the company that's going to do what, and we do it. It's going to take some time, but it's the best way to actually do it. Right?
Yeah, if we're talking about raising funds that aren't of our own individual accord, yeah. I mean, I feel like this is a new process. We got to figure out how we work together towards that common good without, I mean, we never really talked about spending our own money on this, but like that would be a different conversation than what we're having right now. So, yeah.
Our own budget, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So John, let's say if we were to spend our own money, right? Let's say I was to bring a little bit of my budget.
Yep.
Aaron was to do that. Lovejoy, yourself, Chris, and Jesse, and we chose you to lead us so that we can build this website. The answer would be no.
No, I would take that on. Well, it would just be basically I do the work, I pick the team, and then I do a bi-weekly report to you guys and get your feelings, feedback on it, and stuff like that. Is that what you mean?
No, I'm saying that if we raise the money ourselves, and we decide that okay, that community, somebody can bring whatever that they have, their proposals. Everyone, bring your proposals. And you are going to be the person that will represent the chief delegates to make sure that the website gets done.
Nah, probably not. I would develop the website, you know, as a company, like picking the assets to make it happen and get it done. But I probably wouldn't be keen on the job of sort of overseeing stuff and speaking to Eden, you know, members and stuff on this and that, and coordinating it all, because that's just way more time consuming.
No,
different person.
Then Chris is right, because Chris is saying that you have already made up your mind that this is for you and nobody else has to be part of this. And you are going to do it. You're going to pitch for it, take the money, work on it, and that's it. But you never give anyone an opportunity. That's what it's coming down to.
Well, if Eden on EOS, you know, picks my company as you know the company to do it, then yeah.
Okay, so now I see.
It's whether, you know, we decide my company now, or can you do the RFP and then decide with the RFP? But again, you know, it would be done as, you know, well, like I would accept the deal only again if it's like, you know, company level and not individual level.
Okay. I get it. So
it's like the job is very different, like between the two.
Yeah.
Like for me, and like the time, the stress, and all that stuff like that.
So maybe what we have to do is we have to throw it out to the community and get I know it's going to be a little bit of time being wasted, but we have to get a company or a couple of companies to bring their proposals. We have to look at it, and based on that, then we can raise the money. I mean, we can do it that way. And if we don't have enough money, we all chip in a little bit and we help pay for the website if we really want to do this the right way.
Isn't that what we've been discussing?
No.
You've lost me.
So what are the options on the table now? The options are, well, what about you, Randall? What about using EOS support as a shell to collect this funds? If I write the proposal and you shell it, and you can wrap this into EOS support as a service that EOS supports provides on the kind of bequest of chief delegates. And then you figure, because you've got a better handle on accounting and that piece, and rightfully so, peel off the financial sink to receive the funds. But then in terms of, you just receive the funds and put them to an MSEG. We all own them at that point, and we pick somebody to do the job, and we give them the money, and they do it. And if they suck at it, we all say, you suck at this, and we just have to accept we pick someone bad.
That's fine. I think if that will resolve the issue, that's good. It's just that, like, you know, right now I have so many things, so I was trying to run away from.
All you need to be is a shell, just a holding company, just to receive the funds on behalf of the chief delegates. We all put our faith in you, and we trust that we'll vouch for this proposal. It is on behalf of us. Your name's on it because you're going to offer that sort of service of receiving the funds for us for a fee, and then you donate the rest back. John's right. What do you? Does that sound right?
I don't think there would be an MSIG involved in any of these situations because
it's not necessary. We could just trust you. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and for paperwork reasons, the contractors fulfilling this work needs to create the paper trail of where that income came from. And an MSIG is not a good candidate, but one of these companies that we're talking about would be. They'd be directly contracted with that company. So
It's fine, Chris.
So we contract the chief delegate, well, the Eden website through EOS support, which kind of actually makes sense in a way. And then, yeah, you just take whatever piece you need for your taxes and your burden. That's fair.
It's fine. Yeah, let's do it that way so that at least now we can have John to bring his proposal so we can evaluate him and we can evaluate all the other people as well.
Everybody. Yeah. A proper RFP. And we open it up to community. Yeah.
I think
That's the way it should be done.
Okay,
And that's the way
next.
I'd want future chief delegates to do it that way too. If I was on the outside looking in, I would be less pleased with the idea that the chief delegates took it upon themselves to hire someone and not even offer anyone else a chance to do it. That's how I would look at it.
So the change now is EOS support is the administrative company, and then an RFP goes out, and then is that individual based or is that company based?
It could be individual, it can be a company, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Doesn't matter. People are going to offer to fill the role,
yeah,
to
but
do the
like,
job
but-
that we define.
Yeah, but is the job that we're defining the website, or is it content writer, coder,
We can-
translator?
We can figure it
Yeah.
out. Website for now, I think is sufficient.
Well,
Just
that's a
generically
big
pick the
difference.
website.
Okay. Well, that's a big difference. So again, if it's website, then I'll put Arella software into the ring.
Yeah,
But again,
you
if
can
it's
decide later.
individual,
You don't even have to decide right now. Like
if it's individual, then I won't be putting
No problem.
my bid in.
That's fine. We don't even have to.
So-
So that's irrelevant. I mean, not irrelevant, but we don't need to belabor it is what I mean. Like we're 3.5 hours at this point.
Yeah.
I think if we agree that if Randall's willing to be the holding company for these funds, I'll write the proposal. I'll volunteer my time to that. You guys can all check it out and we'll put it up tomorrow.
I don't think we need to
Randall, or
decide
whenever you have a chance, Randall, you can put it up.
who like we need to shift it to. I think just the next step is seeing what the new proposal looks like. And then we can make a decision from there.
So
And
I
I'll
think,
write what the RFP looks like. So if you're curious how
Yeah.
that's worded, John, I'll write that up for us. It's also not very complicated. I've seen many in my years of renewable power plant work.
so do you guys want to meet up again so we can go over that, make sure that everything is finalized, then we post
I think
it?
Google Doc edits probably sufficient. We can probably do it over Telegram. I'll just put up a Google Doc. Everyone can edit it, suggest suggestions. It's going to be basic, by the way. This is not going to be a long, elaborate thing. It's going to be short because it's pretty simple. We're raising funds to operate Eden assets that are owned by the community. And we're just trying to raise some funds, and then we'll, in an open, transparent manner, offer bounties to people to fulfill these roles. And this is something we hopefully look to see other future chief delegates do as well. Always offer things to the community to fulfill tasks and not just select in-house. Because that's the important piece, I think.
All right, I think that's good.
All right, well, let's move forward to this, and then if anyone has any, let's sleep on it, and then if anyone has any words of clarity in the morning or later in the day, depending on what time of the world you're in, feel free to chime in the chief delegate chat. But yeah, we're burning the
Yeah, we are.
burning the pixels hard right now.
We've set a new record.
Yeah. Anyone still watching this, boy, you are something else. You are
Very few people will make it this far
braver,
on this
braver
one.
than we are in some ways.
We're going to be switching it to 2x.
Yeah. I feel like you're not happy with this, John, but I'm not really sure how to make you happy with this. So,
we can all sleep on it and then see what the RFP looks like, and then make further decisions from there on what we're doing.
Yeah. For now, I'll just write the just a pitch, an actual RFP. We'll have to decide on what we want for roles. So we'll have to take a stab at what those look like.
The RFP is the more complicated bit. Like the pitch is the easy part.
I mean, I don't know how much experience you have with RFPs, but it's not that hard. Collecting them and aggregating them and going through them all. Yes, that's not how writing it.
But how it's structured with, if
scope of work. It's like when you do a quote job, right? Like Orello software does work for somebody. Usually you talk to the client and you say, hey, client, what do you want? And they tell you, they give you a scope of work. And then you submit a proposal like a bid, right? That's a request for proposal. So that client could go to multiple Johns, multiple Orellos, and they do the same thing. And it's also really good because you get competitive pricing. Also nice. It's always nice to compare similar job tasks and then pricing because it helps influence the decision making. That's the part we're also missing.
Yeah, but it depends on how like the client defines what they
So
want
that's
the
how
end
it goes.
result to be. But again, you need a professional to figure out what the requirements are to actually fulfill those, fulfill the target. So,
As it
and
stands,
then-
we have 2 professionals. Even Randall himself has said he's done websites. We've got 3 professionals on the Chief Delegates. We can easily come up with.
I built
4.
websites.
I actually built EdenProxy.org. Just throwing it out there. I made a website too, and I did that for free. So
Done Drupal, WordPress.
there's options.
Yeah,
And so the request for proposal we'll have to iron that out to be determined. But I can even take that away and speak to some people who I know who are more expert web developers who I'm sure would help me if that will facilitate this and getting done sooner.
All right. Cool. Let's reconvene on this topic.
Yay! I
Yeah,
second
Yay.
that motion.
we're done.
Let's vote.
All right.